This is Larry. This is Larry Fine. Mars can't come to the phone right now, so leave a message, you fakaka schnook.
Beep! Oh my God, Bombaleo. Hey, it's me, Papa Raven Shadow. Dynamo, you fucking mooly. You fucking outed me about the porno thing. What are you fucking up to here? It's bad enough that Mama Raven Shadow hasn't let me out there since that little fucking cancer machine with jabroni crawled out of her. Like, what the fuck? Oh, man, you fucking ruined it. By the way, could you, I like the redhead babysitter gangbang. Could you send me the fucking one about the midgets pissing, you know? Can you believe that my kid doesn't think I watch fucking pornos? Well, I used to label him Johnny Carson. He had no fucking idea. He thought that I really liked the art of the interview. The goddamn idiot. Also, don't tell him that he's fucking adopted. He's the mailman's kid. Fucking idiot. He's the only baby I ever know that was fucking smoking after we had sex and made him. Jesus fucking Christ. So send me those URLs and keep your fucking mouth shut. It's hot enough to jack off around here that it smells like an ashtray on fire. See you later, Mars, and welcome to Trick or Treat Radio.
Welcome to episode 108 of Trick or Treat Radio. Trick or Treat Radio is a phantasmagorical spin kick straight through the heart of pop culture, navigated by the Deadites. The Deadites are the world's greatest electroshock band. We destroy monsters. We drink.
Come on, cut to the chase. We've got so much machismo on the show this week.
Machismo?
Machismo?
Machismo.
Is that right?
We've like tripled the machismo of this show by adding these two guests that we have tonight.
Really?
We've like quadrupled the. Have you seen the chest? Have you seen the chest on Josh?
We're looking at it right now.
It's at least a C. I'd say it's a good C cup.
At least.
I'm pretty sure that Josh could throw like 3 suplexes on all you guys before you even knew what was going on.
Well, I'm pretty sure that 50% of this table, that's not an accomplishment at all.
Josh, put him through the table right now.
I would, but I don't want to mess up his nice room here. This seems
You guys
like
are lucky he's a gentleman. That's all I have to say.
I feel like Wolfie's shrine to his virginity here, though, could use a little roughing up.
Well, somebody knocked over
Those
some
glass
guy.
cases of action figures were made to have someone put through them.
I was under the impression they were for displaying things, but I'll go back and read the directions.
Well, since Tiny mentioned this, I think last week, you know, I'm gonna try something new, Tiny. So Trick or Treat Radio, I said the whole phantasmagorical spin kick thing, but Trick or Treat Radio is a 3-hour podcast. We always review a film, a single film, at least one film, and we have discussions, whether it's nerdy discussions, whether it's the double tap or whatever, but you can expect to hear lots of nerdy chat. And it just so happens we have two of the foremost authorities of 35 millimeter on the East Coast today. So we're gonna have a roundtable discussion about 35 millimeter film later on.
Boring.
You just
Boo. Well, I guess not. Let's scrap that.
You also just blew Raven Shadow's like geometry like knowledge out of the water. He's like, I don't think this is a circle.
Really, I was fucking thinking that, man.
I know.
This is like an L.
I could smell the smoke.
What do you mean it's 35 millimeter? The screen is 50 feet long.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Hey, can I? Before I even introduce my guest, can I just get something on my chest that's really fucking bothering me? I feel really disrespectful to like the Deadites fans and the Trick or Treat Radio
Those
fans.
pasties.
That's it?
No. This was shitty. May I, Johnny?
Right. Yeah.
I'll be super quick.
Sure,
I don't want to
sure.
bring down the show, but this isn't like a happy thing.
Too late.
Hold on a second here. Hold on. Okay. So, sometimes trying to lead what you perceive as the rock star lifestyle, like, leads you to self-destructive endeavors at times. And I feel, joke Raven Shadow, but it sucks, Yeah. And I really think that accidentally, earlier this week, I didn't publicize it, but I came about as close to accidentally ending my life as I ever have. It was really scary and it was really dangerous, and of all the dumb things I've done, this was the dumbest, and I apologize. I really feel bad, for the people that support us. So, and the people at this table, I apologize. So, first off, sorry. Earlier this week, ill-advised, even though I knew not to. I thought that I could control it. I thought I knew how to slow down. But this week, I put not one, but 2 burritos full of Fritos into my body.
What? Okay.
Okay.
Where?
Top one top and one bottom.
from Taco Bell. No, I ate them separately.
Was it
Over
a
or
D?
the under?
Was it a DP situation? What are
No.
we talking here?
It was bad. Now, though
Double burrito, double.
why,
There's a visual.
While I
in
res-
your head.
while I respect the fact that Taco
DP'd
Bell doesn't even
yourself.
fucking try anymore, they're like, this isn't good for you. We have rat hair in here. Like, we're just gonna fucking throw a whole bunch of shit in there. Like, don't ever put the Taco Bell Frito Dorito into your body. Don't ever.
Is it Frito Dorito? Is that what it is?
Frito Burrito Dorito, I think. I don't even know. All I know is I felt like I ate oil, glass, wrapped in cancer, and put it in my body.
Where?
Have you
That
looked at
sounds
the
fun,
ingredients? You just said like half of the ingredients.
Rat hair in Fritos is, I think, what it was. That's what it looked like when it came out.
So you wanted the
Cancer is
healthy
actually
option?
on the list of ingredients.
What?
Cancer is actually one of the ingredients.
There was
Yes.
so much rat hair in there that I shit out a whole rat.
And there's beef spuds too.
What is a beef spud?
Beef spud. You soak them in water, and a little beef sprout comes out.
No,
What are you talking?
nothing.
I
That,
think-
what you
I
said
think
doesn't make any sense.
I think that
Oh,
was
what
that video
I
you
just
watched
said
in,
doesn't
like,
make any
6th grade.
sense.
Let our other guests talk. What was that, Jay?
I was just about the growing bean spud or whatever. I think that was that video you watched in 6th grade where they separated the men and the women from class, and they showed you the little 16 millimeter thing. It's like Johnny is feeling tingly in his private
It
area.
always comes down to film size with Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I am Irish. Remember?
He's like, "What's that? What are you putting in that projector? 16?
I'm more of an 8.
Get 8?
Yeah. I'm home movies.
Movies.
You guys, I am serious. Don't fucking eat that. I know Tiny would not, but I know some of you might be like, "Oh, that looks delicious." That's not delicious. I still feel that. I could, if I press on my stomach, I can still feel that burrito from yesterday.
How far is
Wow.
Taco Bell from here?
It's far, too far. They just put one down the street to try to fucking seduce you, but don't go there. That's really
Wait until
bad.
that thing comes out, dude.
I felt like aliens. Like, I really felt like I was gonna die.
You felt like how Tiny felt about maybe 15 minutes ago before we hit the air.
No, I literally shit from about 5 o'clock in the afternoon to about 2 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you, new listeners.
It was the worst thing that ever
for-
happened.
Did you add like any
Coming on
hot
board.
sauce or any of that?
No,
hot
it
sauce
burnt.
making-
That's the other thing. I didn't even eat a hot sauce, but it burnt.
Oh,
It was fucking awful.
damn.
I'm gonna, and I am
gone-
now
that's gonorrhea.
dedicated to take. That's. I didn't know that those two things overlap. I can't believe I got gonorrhea from Taco Bell.
Yeah, so it's like diarrhea, but when you're done, body parts are gone.
Nice.
I can't believe you're the only person who walk out of there with gonorrhea.
So I am now dedicated to taking better care of myself.
There you go. And you're doing well by eating Kit Kats in a double gulp.
Well, it's Kit Kats has vegetables in it
Yeah.
from the bean
it's
sprout plant.
It's a vegan Kit Kat bar.
Yeah,
Oh, the extra large Kit Kat bar.
it's true. They-
Cat's healthier than rat.
Yeah.
so.
Well, they have to
That's
fill it.
true.
It's extra large, so they got to fill it up with something. So they put vegetables in there.
There you go.
Right.
Is that it, Dynamo? Is that your story?
It's not a story. It's a cautionary tale. You guys aren't fine. Man.
No, we're taking you seriously, but I mean the whole situation with your ass.
Go
and
eat.
the
You
the
go
Dorito
eat some,
burrito.
Michael Raven Shadow.
Oh yeah, go.
It'd be like fucking chemo for you.
Yeah, you need to gain some weight, dude.
Yeah.
We're starting to see right through you.
Yeah, stealth.
What
I'm undercover. Who's
Look
next,
at
Johnny?
look at fucking the health instructor next to me here drinking his crushed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle green punch.
That's right, Leonardo, baby. And boy, does it taste good.
All right, we need some order around here.
Yeah. So
I'll
that's
have,
some of the fucking.
I'll have a Frito burrito.
Frito burrito or something.
It's got crushed Frito. It's like those crushed Fritos are soft going in, but they're like fucking gravel coming out.
Oh,
It's
like our guest?
It's like shitting out a pine cone the wrong way.
While I've never shit out a pine cone that I remember, I'm suspect there is not a right way.
How do we continue to get good guests on this show with this kind of shit?
Not any longer. Who's next, Johnny?
Josh just walked out.
Yeah, where the fuck Josh go?
This might be it for us.
What do you think, Jay? Click.
Oh, I thought the podcast was over. I'm sorry.
And next week's guest, John Landis.
Yes. John
All right, so tonight, let's talk about that. Tonight. I don't know what that was, but it sounded awesome.
My headphones, I think, are quiet.
They're quiet?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I can only hear you at a normal.
Check.
Okay, that's better.
All right.
All right.
Oh,
So-
shit. We should do this a different day. This is a bad start.
So tonight, we're going to review the film Blue Ruin. Film came out last year and just hit VOD, so we're able to get our hands on it and check that out.
Say it. I know you want to.
Blueing.
No, not that.
Oh. That's what I wanted to say.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to go
Neil
for...
Kneel before VOD.
Yeah.
Kneel before VOD, yes. That was on yesterday, too. Superman 2, man.
Was it on VOD?
No, it was on
Weird.
Zod. Kneel before VOD.
Yes, so we're going to review Blue Ruin. And then we're going to have a discussion about 35mm film. Not sure quite where it's going to go, but we have Josh and Jay, who will get the formal introduction in just a moment, here with us. So I would be remiss if we did not discuss 35mm in some ways.
While I, appreciate that you guys promote when you're on, you don't have to this time.
What?
They don't have to mention that they were here or on the show.
No. Yeah, it's all right. You guys don't have to.
Fortunately, I already did.
All right, so let me go ahead and introduce everyone. I'll introduce the normies that are on the show. Myself, I am Johnny Wolfenstein, the pencil pusher and producer of media for Trick or Treat Radio and for the Deadites. We also have the immortal gunslinger, singer and lyricist for the Deadites, Mr. Dynamo Mars.
Hi, everybody.
What are you eating? Popcorn?
Popcorns.
Taco Bell.
I have so many prizes that I have to get rid of because we didn't play D&D this week, so I have all the D&D prizes.
Prizes?
What? Prizes?
Like a D&D night, I let myself eat whatever I want because considering what those people fucking consume, I look like Richard Simmons.
You sure you want to go that far?
Nice
Like
perm.
Richard Simmons.
Nice perm you got there.
Yeah.
Let me think of the healthiest looking guy.
Not like, I don't know, like a wrestler or
Yeah, like Batista.
Batista.
Yeah.
Deal a meal.
No, he just means that he showed up wearing that anatomical leotard.
Ooh. Yeah. Anatomical retard.
A slim, good body.
Yes. Best.
Anatomical feet.
Slim Goodbody was the man.
Man.
Who's next, Johnny?
We also have the katana-wielding, synth-collecting, mask-wearing composer, and songwriter for the Deadites, Mr. Tiny White.
Hello. I am really excited to be here this week. I can't wait to actually hear some intelligent conversation. We've actually, with two awesome guests, we have actually significantly skewed the intelligent quotient for this podcast, which is really great.
I know what most of those words meant.
Yeah, so you idiots better not talk over them when they're talking.
Yes. And I just did a search for Slim Goodbody, and there is definitely a one-piece female bathing suit in Slim Goodbody style, and it is pretty slamming.
Oh, man.
Does it show ovaries though? Like I don't want to think. I don't want to think about what's
No,
going
it's just
on in
muscle,
that one.
musculature.
Is it
It's
like
very
modern?
very Clive Barkerish, actually.
Is it modern? Like, does it have breast implants and shit in it?
You
It
hate
does.
women.
It
No, I
does.
don't.
Yes,
Yeah,
sure.
you do.
All right.
No.
All right. Damn. I love women. They just don't like me.
True words have never been spoken. All right, we also have the chain smoking, hand kissing, baby shaking, hot pocket loving, comic book reading nerd, and the official smoke machine for the Deadites, Michael Ravenshadow.
I'm your cherry bombaleo.
Jesus Christ.
Does anybody have any sanitizer? I have to wash out my ears.
It's a song. I made it different.
What? Okay, Monster Zero. Thanks. Thanks for explaining your punchline.
It's on the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack.
Yes, we know that. Who sang it?
The black the girl
The Blackster?
the girl from Twilight and the blonde one from that movie.
What?
Thank you, Josh.
What the
Not
fuck?
the
Thank you,
blonde one,
Josh.
but the other one.
He's referring to the actresses who played the Runaways in the movie
Oh.
Runaways.
You are smart, Josh. I'm glad you're here.
Dakota Fanning.
Yeah, there you go. You a fucking smart guy. You translate me.
Oh, man.
It's like, it's gonna be a good show.
You translate me. I just picture like Josh and Raven Shadow holding hands right now on a mountain. And the
Yeah.
sun's coming down.
Nothing wrong with that.
You translate me.
Yeah, maybe a lightning bolt in the background. Nothing wrong. A big
Oh,
gulp.
lightning in a barrel?
Yeah.
You really understand me, Josh.
Yeah, we'll go to fucking Rhode Island.
You
Get some
complete.
coffee milk.
You
Be
complete me,
fun.
Josh.
Go to the water fire together.
We're gonna have a-
water fire and see a movie.
We're gonna have a cabinet.
Oh, Josh, I never knew it could be like this.
Yeah, it's all right.
Oh, my God. All right. We also have the vulgar guru of horror, cast member of Morbid Vision Films, and contributor for Horror Hound magazine, Monster Zero.
Hey, drop the hero and get with the zero. I'm going to be going back in front of the film camera this Sunday night to finish up Morbid Tales for Morbid Vision Films.
Is that the
Nice.
one where you fuck midgets?
I wish. Jesus Christ. Fucking a midget, man. Jesus.
I think we had this conversation.
We did. But there's
I'm
nothing
just
wrong
trying.
with
I'm just trying
resurrecting
to
it.
like tempt fate and see if you walk in the door again.
That'd be
No, that's
awesome.
not- Yeah, it could be.
I wish a midget would walk through the door. Waddle through with those penguin-like legs and a
Who's
big
next,
fat
Johnny?
ass.
Well, jeez, man. All right. Well, we
I
have.
need more burritos now.
Yes, I think we all do. One of our guests who is calling in on long distance connection. He's a 35 millimeter purist, a grower, not a shower,
Yes.
a Renaissance man, and the founder and promoter of the Back Alley film series, our buddy Professor J.
Hello. That's all I got. That's all I got.
Thank you. Good night.
Yes, thank you. I'll be there in a couple hours. No, thank you for having me back. I like being on. So.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on, Jay. We always enjoy chatting,
Okay.
shooting the shit with you.
Awesome.
Yes, and talking about films, and
Yeah.
it just so happens that you had mentioned Blue Ruin when you were on last, so we figured it'd be
That's,
nice to have you on for this.
yeah, well, I appreciate that. I just don't have it tonight. I don't know. I need a stunt podcaster tonight. All right, we'll get there. We'll get there. Anyway, thank you.
You need to find the closest Taco Bell and get a Dorito Frito burrito.
That doesn't help. I'm not even kidding. Like, I left myself a note that I talked to you last night, Wolfie, because I like woke up like hungover and messed up. Like that burrito is poison. Like, don't make fun of it. You don't want to wish that on Jay. He'll give Back Alley Film Series a new meaning.
This is a pretty good podcast, and I'm enjoying it. Yeah. I'm just, Tiny said, apparently, our job is to class it up a little bit. So, anyway.
So why do we
You
invite the
you know
guy
what you
next
need
to
to
me
do?
then?
You just need to sigh, like sound disappointed and sigh. Just be like, okay, you got it. You got it.
Yes.
Just try to duplicate the noise that Tiny Wife makes when he rolls off her.
Jay posted this for you, MZ. Midget. It's Vern Troyer. Yeah. Oh, it's his bucket challenge.
Yeah, that's Mini Mars.
Who dumped? This isn't funny, but would it be awful if it went wrong and he drowned?
His little legs kicking up in the air.
How come there aren't more foxy girls doing the ice bucket challenge? It's just like old dudes and smart dudes, old smart dudes, and pro wrestlers.
Because they don't like baseball.
Captain America did
about
it
it.
first.
Yeah. Oh, that old chestnut.
That's man. I'm sick of seeing that. Even though it's raised
All right,
a lot. Of,
yeah,
it's raised a lot of-
Shut
let's
up.
let's not get.
Oh,
into
I'm
it.
sick of things
No,
helping.
no.
Then
No.
don't click on it.
We have one more guest we need to get to.
No, that's all right.
He
Bring us back.
Yes, bring us back, or bring. Yeah, I need to bring us back. So we have Josh, who is also he has his own the Arkham Film Society, where he books and shows awesome films, and mostly Rhode Island. And Josh is also partially in charge of the film festival for Rock and Shock this upcoming year. So our good buddy Josh.
Hello. So,
Dynamo, you want to give him a better intro?
No, I thought it was weird.
Okay.
That was good.
so I'll get this portion of it out of the way.
Yeah,
right
please.
now. The submission deadline for Rock and Shock has been extended to Saturday, September 6th. So if you or anybody you know is an independent horror filmmaker and they want to submit their feature or short, we're actually looking for shorts more actively. Just go to www.rockandshock.com/film-festival or Google it or Bing it, as they like to do. And,
Yes.
all the information's there. And or if you have questions, you can just do a quick search for the Arkham Film Society. Any way you contact the Arkham Film Society goes to me. So, and yeah, send films in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you and Josh, is there any criteria? Does this need to be a new film? Does it need to be made within a certain time frame? Can it?
I don't think that those movies need to be a Rocket Shock, the Criteria Collection.
I'd say newish. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had people submit shorts and stuff that have been doing the circuit for like a year or two.
Okay.
And we have no problem with that.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, if it's like an independent feature you made in 1984.
Right. Probably not.
Can we put like just credits at the end and beginning of Trick or Treat Radio and call it a feature?
I mean, you could, but I think it's too long for us to fit into any time slot.
I get that a lot.
Maybe if you cut all the funny parts down to like a 5-minute short, I mean, you'd need like 4 episodes.
Ouch.
Wow.
What if
He's
you're-
our guest.
What if you're a dependent filmmaker?
Then you need us even more.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Nice. What about a codependent?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. See, I think I mean, independent. What do I need you for? I'm independent.
Okay, fine. If you're any filmmaker who's interested in having your work shown, contact us or submit it. We'd be happy to have it.
I'm gonna make an art film and submit it. It's gonna be awesome.
All right.
Eli Roth just called.
Did you say an art film?
Yeah.
It's gonna be about Michael Ravenshaw's aunt and uncle.
Yeah. He offered some art.
Sometimes I fall into my terrible accent worse than others. Sorry. It could be worse. My last name could be Ravenshaw.
Oh. Yeah. Any news on Papa Ravenshadow and the porn?
I don't want to talk about it. It's been rough.
Turn your mic to your mouth. All right.
I feel it's on my mouth.
Everyone. Yeah.
Somebody who watches a lot of porn, you think
Yeah.
you'd
Say
know.
that again.
I'm not going to say it again.
Everybody
I'm not
who
gonna-
I ran into over the course of the week was like, that is 100% what happened with Michael Ravenshaw's dad.
For those
Yeah.
that know my dad, that's not it's not a factor.
Yeah, whatever factor. I'm going to give you the X factor. Yeah, it is a factor.
X-Factor.
Nah, you don't need that, man. He's fucking tired.
Yeah, he is tired.
You know, I don't know. The cookout's canceled.
His right hand
He's
must be
ti-
tired.
I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not
Oh
sure.
my God. Mikey, I'm tired. I tore my rotary cuff.
My rotary cuff.
I'm looking for fucking the trick or treat radio, and all I come is redheaded babysitter gangbangs. What kind of things are you
I
selling?
gotta get to Tommy fucking John.
Yeah.
I think the carpal tunnel's starting to kick in
The
again,
carpal
there,
tunnel.
son.
So for those of you who were smart or missed last week, Michael Papa Raven Shadow asserts that in looking for Trick or Treat Radio on his phone got overwhelmed and filled up with pornography. Which,
True
despite
story.
the fact that Johnny and I have been trying to do it.
Maybe if he
Pop
looks
up
up
from our
porn,
sponsors.
he'll end up with Trick or Treat Radio.
Maybe you should do that.
Tell him to do
Yes,
that.
is
I
he
don't know what
opened
happened.
that portal to the internet, and all the porn just rushed right in.
Right.
Yeah. My kid's got a podcast. My favorite one is Chubby Coed fucks a teacher for good grades. That was a good episode. I liked it.
I was looking up episode number 96, and I got black dicks, white chicks. What the fuck?
Yeah.
That was a good one.
I tell you what, Mikey, I put in boo, and the next thing you know, there's a bunch of Asian girls getting blinded. I don't even know what happened. What
Oh.
the fuck?
We got some people hanging out in the chat room.
Bombaleo, chat room.
Yeah, we got our good buddy Michael Ledger,
Oh,
sexy librarian,
nice.
guest 530. I don't
There
know.
you go.
I don't know who guest
Oh, the
530 is.
best guest ever.
That is hot.
5:30.
5:30.
Although, as we learned, Tiny, we can't ask who it is.
Yeah, don't fucking.
Yeah.
Come on,
Don't
why
Interact,
say
not?
Tiny.
anything. Treat them with kid gloves.
Oh, kid
no,
gloves.
No fast movements.
Don't look them in the eyes.
All right, so we've been going almost a half hour now, so maybe we should.
Let's do the intros.
So Blue Ruin.
Drink.
Ledger says he could be at Disneyland drinking and listening to a fun band.
We're
Yeah,
a fun
but-
band.
But for, but for the restraining order.
He's like, I could be at Disneyland, but I tried to watch Trick or Treat Radio, and my phone got filled up with porn.
If it wasn't for them pesky kids,
So they
called the cops on me.
They won't let me in anymore.
Oh man! All right. So yes, we need to talk about Blue Room, but before that, we got to talk about what's this hot new software we're using, Raven Shadow.
XSplit!
XSplit!
They're fucking good.
So yes, we're using XSplit for
XSplit.
So wait, am I supposed to be yelling XSplit right now?
XSplit!
On
apparently-
either side of that, the
I didn't
second
get
one's
the
easier.
Contract update.
Yes. So that's the new software that we're using to broadcast live on Wednesday evenings. Wednesday? Did I say Wednesday?
Okay, Raven Shadow.
Yeah, so that's what we're using to broadcast. It's pretty awesome. So if you're into streaming, if you like streaming games, you like streaming video, you want to just show like a stream of Raven Shadow pictures to some sweet music, like Power Man 5000.
Oh, that's a fucking ledger. Get on that. Someone, Jay, you're in the back. Do that. I want to make sure, that's fun.
Golden streaming?
Yes. So if that's your thing, check out XSplit.
XSplit!
Because they're pretty awesome.
I got to tell you, folks, I can't recommend this enough. The show looks great. It sounds great. From what Wolfie says, the interface is really easy to update the look of the show every single time. It is a great program. So, listen to your old buddy Dynamo. If you're looking for a new way to show your show, to peddle your wares, I highly recommend XSplit. It's
XSplit.
Cleveland streaming?
Fielding streaming.
Oh, it's exciting. Jay's on the phone.
Yeah.
And
Josh
we've-
is here.
And we've accomplished absolutely nothing
Yeah.
so far.
All right.
So far, we've actually made our guest stupider from being on the show with us. They've lost like 10 IQ points. Half hour. That's all it took.
SL says that she dies a little bit every time you all yell XSplit.
XSplit.
Don't die on us, please.
Now, SL, is that like the metaphor of dying that I use in songs, which is really orgasmic bliss, or like drop dead? Just let us know later.
Which is the bad one?
Which is the
Yeah,
bad one?
she's not going to hear that for like a minute. So
Oh yeah, I forgot the way.
Yeah, let's
I
wait
forgot.
and find
I
out.
forgot
Well,
the way that
let's-
things work on XSplit.
XSplit!
let's all be silent and just wait for her answer.
No, don't do that.
All right. So Also, Amazon. Like if you use Amazon, go ahead to trickortreatradio.com and on the side there's a link to use our affiliate link. If you click that and then do your shopping on that Amazon thing there, we get a little bit of a cut. So if that's your thing, do that.
Apparently, every $1,000.
Amazon's not evil, right? Like that's like one big company that somehow has not become complete like evil.
Do you
Even
know
though they're
anybody
like
that works
super
at Amazon?
huge, powerful conglomerate company, like not that evil.
They,
right?
I don't know.
They don't seem
They're
evil.
probably evil.
Yeah,
They probably are.
They're probably owned by Walmart.
I don't
If
think
you-
you can be that big and probably not be evil.
If you
Exactly.
own a brick and mortar business, you're probably not a huge fan of Amazon at the end of the day, right? You know?
I'm gonna Bing it right now.
Now, there you go, Jay.
Yeah, there you go.
Is Amazon evil? Has everybody at the table seen
Oh.
The Dent?
The truth behind Amazon's success, it's
Uh-oh,
kind of
boy.
evil.
Uh-oh.
Oh, wait. Oh, that link is not. Oh, the back end is unhealthy. That's what it said there.
Did you just get porn on your computer?
That's how it happens. Put it down, Jay. Put it down.
This one's in a foreign language.
Oh man, wife in shadow. My phone's all broken. Maybe if I try to look at Trick or Treat Radio on a tablet alone in the bathroom with the water running for a while, I'll be able to find it. I can't believe that you're buying. My dad doesn't watch porn either.
No. But my dad can't find it on the interwebs.
Yeah,
No.
you're funny.
You guys gonna meet my fucking dad. I'm gonna have him on the show.
Yeah.
It'll be excellent.
It would be a guest. Ooh.
Yeah, the show where we discuss porn.
That's like saying that a young boy can't find porn in his dad's closet or whatever. It's gonna happen.
It's not in the closet, Tiny.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
aware. You're aware that, like, behind the cashier at the gas station, there's like an abundance of porn there that you don't even need Wi-Fi for.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't want to talk about it, but
Guest 530 in the chat room says, and I thought that goddamn Sarah McLachlan dead dog commercial was long.
I'll go to commercial.
I like this anonymity thing here.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right, we gotta
Oh
go.
my God.
Although
I
I have
don't
a
even-
feeling I know who it is, but I'm not going to say because I don't.
I don't
He
even-
or she wouldn't be so tough if they weren't hiding behind that cool screen name and witty comments.
That's right.
Is it Monster Zero?
Yeah.
We should talk about movies though. We have
should.
two
I know,
awesome guys.
I know.
Let's stop
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about
We gotta get
movies
moving.
and stuff
Yeah,
like
goodbyes are getting long.
Yeah.
Please.
Goodbye. Goodbye. It's more like hellos.
Speaking of that, where's my child?
Speaking of poopies, I haven't changed a diaper for like 3 weeks.
Days, yeah.
Weird.
All right. So we'll get that out of the way, Raven Shadow.
There you go. Fib?
Yeah. What is it?
The fan interaction board.
That's right. So if you're on Facebook, go to Trick or Treat Radio. Just do a search for Trick or Treat Radio. The group will come up. Invite yourself in if you're not already in. There's lots of hot action going on over there, isn't there?
Oh, you go there. It's like fucking Allstate.
What?
Like what?
Yeah, that website. You're in good fucking hands over there. It's like the nerdy Allstate. There's all kinds of fucking shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All kinds of fucking shit.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, head on over to the Fib, as we like to call it. It's the Trick or Treat Radio Facebook group. Lots of cool stuff going on there. Lots of discussions. Jay's posting videos of midgets. Some good stuff going on. So,
Honey, don't hit me. Don't hit me no more. I don't even know how Cambodian plumpers and Asian big bone women got on my phone. Don't hit me.
all right, we need to take a break, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about Blue Ruin. We'll be back in just a moment.
on iTunes, Google Music, Amazon, CD Baby, and all other digital distribution sites.
Hey, you matzo heads. This is Larry Fine, and you're listening to Trick or Treat Radio.
My name's Jason Voorhees from Camp Crystal Lake. And since I only ever kill people that had sex, all those little virgins on the Trick or Treat Radio Facebook group have nothing to fear from me. They're too busy talking about horror movies, comics, video games, RPGs, and all the disgusting, dumb, nerdy stuff that those boys on the Trick or Treat Radio podcast talk about. They'll never have any time to meet a girl, and if they do meet a girl, she'll just be as dorky as them. That's right, the Trick or Treat Radio Facebook page has tons of girls on it. Well, 4 or 5, 3. A few girls, all right? Now get off my back. They only gave me $50 to do this promo. So go to Facebook, search for Trick or Treat Radio. Join the group and start talking nerd. When the show ends, the discussion just begins. Copyright. Fuck you, Michael Raven Shadow.
And we're back. Whoa, I didn't fade that out right.
Yeah, nice fade out.
I was turning a volume up
Don't
as I
make
was.
fun of him for that, Mixmaster Mike.
I was.
Aren't you supposed to,
Mixmaster
aren't you supposed to
Zero.
drop the volume all the way down and then yell XSplit?
Split. Yo, bring it back
Like-
up. Do it better.
Like right when the chorus, like right when the hook is about to drop.
Tiny, you just blew your load with the fucking review in the chat room.
Don't say it out loud.
I'm not, but you just blew your load.
Maybe I'm stringing them along.
Maybe.
Now all the
I've been
live
known to do
listeners
that.
are going to log off.
That's right. Yeah.
That's why.
Guess 5:30 is like, oh, thanks. Now I know. See you.
Now, are they implying that there have been 530 guests on here? Or did
529.
he make that?
I don't
name?
know.
Or
I have
she
no
make
idea.
that name?
I don't know. So we're going to review the film Blue Ruin. This film from 2013 is rated R, 90 minutes. It is classified as a thriller. It's written and directed by Jeremy Saulnier, and it stars Macon Blair, Devin Ratray, who we were just. What's that?
Rat Ray?
We were
Row all day.
Well, that's how I like to say it. I'm sure it's Ratray or something, but I like Ratray.
Rat tray.
Yeah, that's a
Don't
lot
send
better.
to Fantasy Games. They don't have to say because you've grabbed by a tray.
Also, Amy Hargreaves, who we
Yeah.
talked about in Brain Scan, otherwise known as Side Boob.
SB.
SB.
That's
Kevin.
funny. I didn't.
Really?
I remember we mentioned that, but I forgot
Yeah.
to make that connection. That's
Yep.
interesting.
Which one was she?
Side Boob.
I know that, but on the movie.
She was Sam.
Side boob.
Sam.
She-
In this movie.
in this movie, she was Sam.
She was.
She was the sister.
She was
Sister.
out of it though.
The black hair.
No.
You
blonde
didn't fucking
hair.
see this
No,
movie
no, no,
already.
no.
The blonde.
Yeah, in the restaurant.
She was out of it before like the 15-minute point. So I'm sure you
Yeah.
have no idea who she is.
What movie was it?
And also Eve Plum. The synopsis we have here on IMDb: a mysterious outsider's quiet life is turned upside down when he returns to his childhood home to carry out an act of vengeance. Proving himself an amateur assassin, he winds up in a brutal fight to protect his estranged family.
No, not really. But
Yeah.
something like that.
It's sort
Yeah,
of.
I kind of disagree with that.
His life was already fucking upside down when this movie started. You know.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't a quiet life. It was quiet, but a lot of shit.
I disagree with you guys.
Proven to be an accomplished assassin. I don't
No,
know.
amateur.
Amateur.
That's
different
what I meant
word.
to say. That's what I meant to say.
If they said accomplished, we would have some issue here.
Monster Zero just realized that his wife Zero has been telling him he's lousy in bed.
It's not his wife. Don't
He's
make him
been-
yell.
She's been saying
my
I'm an
wife.
amateur lover for years.
I'm not married. I'm never going to get married.
See?
Yeah, but it's not
I'm
quite
not going to
as
say it again.
it's not quite as sexy if you don't have a say.
All right, we need to jump into this. There's
That's true.
We have 7
We
people.
have
review-
150 people that need to talk about
Yeah.
this movie.
We have 7 people that need to review this, so we need to be a little bit more concise than normal. Dynamo, do you want to kick us off on this one? All right, go for it.
Real quick, I just disagree. I think that though his life wouldn't look pleasant to us, I think he had cut everything down to like bare bones and the absolute pleasures in life, like enjoying a nice bath and finding
Wait,
All right.
finding a sandwich. Like they didn't.
Free food
In a
right?
trash can.
Yeah, but it was
Hey,
it was
whoa,
intact.
Whoa, let's not
Yeah,
nitpick.
yeah. I mean, I'm getting what he's saying.
Like it was only once he was driven back into civilization did everything really turn upside down. Like he had walked away and that was the life he had. And I don't feel like they made him seem miserable. He just felt, he just was. That was his life now. And he was cut off from society, and it was, he seemed happy enough.
Also, just to interject real quick, let's, as usual, it's a new film. Let's try to be as
Right.
spoiler-free as we can. Just a reminder.
I don't have a ton to say about this, and usually when that happens, I feel like it's a very, boring movie or whatever else. But I really feel like this movie flirts with being a masterpiece. Like I think that it looks great. You probably don't have 4 pages of dialogue in the movie, but it's some of the best placed, most poignant dialogue ever. It's powerful when it needs to be powerful. It's hilarious when it needs to be hilarious. It peels back the cover of the books that are these characters, and you get a good look at them just in what they say and what they don't say. The movie does a terrific job of never making what this main character is undertaking sexy, while not being too overly, while not trying to make the other family in this look too sympathetic. I think that this is really a great movie. Today on a text chat today, Tiny mentioned the Coen brothers, and I think that that's there. I think that this director, I've never seen his other film, Murder Party, but I feel like it, even the hype and negativity that I heard about Murder Party, nothing led me to believe that this is a confident young filmmaker who created his character, created his world, and lead you through it expertly for its entire 90-minute running time. I have not a single complaint about this.
All right. Josh, you want to speak on this next?
Sure. I pretty much agree with everything he was saying. It's the story is very stripped down. I'll give a little bit of the plot just because I feel we haven't really touched on it too much. It's just that our main character is pretty much homeless. He lives out of a car in a beach community. And you find out
By choice, though.
Oh,
It's revealed quickly that he has money coming to him and he has a place to stay. And
pretty much what it is his life kind of fell apart to a certain degree after his parents were killed. And he finds out that the person who went to jail for the murders because of a plea bargain agreement is being released early. And that kind of sets this whole revenge story into play, but you quickly learn that that by getting revenge, he's kind of opened a whole new can of worms, and and then I don't want to give anything away after that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's written to the simplest degree. And I don't mean that in a way that it's not dumbed down. But it's just there's no fluff in the film.
Right.
And that 90 minutes moves along very briskly.
Right.
There's no real filler.
I would say that this is the slowest moving relentless film that I've ever seen in my whole entire life.
Yeah.
It barrels along like a train, but
Yeah.
it doesn't really. in the best possible way. It doesn't have anything to really hang its hat on, as far as waste.
And even it's got a very kind of the look to the film is very realistic, but it kind of has a stylish quality to it with the way it's lit, because it's a very dark film as well.
Yep.
And also, I've seen Murder Party, the director's first film, which I highly recommend, but you have to go into knowing that Murder Party is actually an all-out comedy. And the whole basis behind Murder Party is that a group of artists leave some random invitations to a Halloween party out around, hoping that some random person will find it and show up so they can kill them and turn it into an art project.
Sounds pretty awesome. Yeah.
Interesting. I like the sound of it.
So, I mean, overall, I can say, too, is if somehow you get to see this theatrically, I would highly recommend it, because it's really kind of like a white knuckler when you're in the theater completely enveloped in the world.
Yeah, this is one I wish I would have caught. I know it played a little bit in Providence. I don't know if it played in Boston, but it's one that I regret not seeing in the theater. But
I almost peed my pants because of this movie, because I didn't, while I wasn't at the theater, the thought of stopping it, even though I could at any time, was just fucking conceivable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I was the same way. I watched, one half of the film at one point, and then I had to stop, and it's like I didn't want to do that.
But that guy had already Vaselined up his fist.
Everything was going so well.
Yeah, there's the derailment we needed.
Just call me Snowpiercer.
SL had said, "Quick, someone interrupt and go off on an unrelated tangent. This is sounding too much like a serious review."
Come on, we're classing it up here, right, Jay?
Yeah, that's right. All right, so let's spread out Josh and Jay. Let's spread out the class. So, Michael Raven Shadow.
Oh boy,
about time.
Miss Lippy's car is green.
This movie was better the first time I saw it, when it was called Walking Tall.
What?
With The Rock. Remember that?
Jesus, not even the original?
It was a remake?
Yeah, he doesn't know that. He doesn't.
No, I know there was a TV show and a fucking
No!
two movies. There was the Walking Tall franchise. It was like the Planet of the Apes of.
that was Walker, Texas Ranger.
Oh shit, that was a good one.
Jimmy Walker Power Ranger.
There you go. Remember Good Guys Wear Black? That was
That's
good.
a
with
fucking
Chuck
show.
That's a fucking show. Yeah, Charlie Bronson.
What the fuck?
Can
Charlie
I
Bronson.
unplug that
Okay,
microphone?
all right. Now we're gonna talk about this movie for a minute.
Now we got a major derailment. Raven Shadow, please. God.
All right. You asked for the best, you got the worst.
Thanks, Eric Carr. That's
No.
me and Wolfie's in the audience.
Yeah, it was fun. I liked this a lot. Did anyone else get reminded of the battery in some of these shots?
Well, just because of the fucking
Guy's
dude,
beard.
Yeah.
making Blair look just like
He did, right?
Yeah,
The dude
The catcher.
And dudes sleeping in cars.
yeah.
But no, but someone like the shots, like the plants, the shots of the plants.
Yeah, the RC shots.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
You know what I'm
Zombie
saying?
boobs.
It'd be a nice double feature.
Yeah. And it's
There might be too much of that. I think
it would be
But
too
I
much.
mean,
of
I
it.
like it, but yeah, no, I'm with you. Like the DP, the director of photography, and the.
No more DP.
Yeah,
Let me-
we already
let me
talked
please
about that.
qualify
We've had
in
it with
this group,
burritos
right?
and fists.
They had some very similar thoughts in those two movies. I agree with that.
So if the battery was the independent or codependent or
go.
whatever the fuck IFC
Yeah.
version of like The Walking Dead,
Yeah.
this movie would be like the codependent IFC version of like Justified. You know what I'm saying? Like that rural, like
Okay,
Kentucky
all right.
or Virginia, whatever the
No.
fuck.
Just stop.
New Jersey.
no.
Can we just make a fucking show precedent, like every time you use The Walking Dead as your go-to zombie thing, our credibility gets flushed down the fucking toilet.
That flushed our credibility?
Like, can you just say like Night of the
That's-
Living Dead or like something that isn't
No,
bad?
there was a thought in there. You just got to dig it out.
Thank you,
know what it
Tiny.
is?
You and Josh,
know what
we're
it's-
gonna
I
go
have a
hang
perfect
out.
Metaphor.
No, you're not.
It's like when I was waiting for my daughter to pass a nickel. It's mostly shit, but when you can actually get in there and find what you're looking for, it's very rewarding.
Thank
so
you,
I
Tiny.
think what you, I think
'cause
the
you're a
only
nickel
thing that
richer.
you said was that the
That is the best description of a Raven Shadow review
Yes.
Continue, Tiny.
was that the cinematographer, the DP, and the director worked together
Yes.
to create a couple shots that told a lot of this story without any dialogue or movement or action.
Yes, it's like we watched it
I just want
together.
to interject. The director wrote and shot the whole film.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
impressive. Highly impressive.
I saw the credits.
That's probably all you saw.
No, but I'm
like,
saying,
oh,
like,
thank God this movie's over.
no, for real. Like, I watched it with Wife and Shadow. We both really enjoyed it, and all I knew was the premise. I kind of wish I didn't even know the premise, but I thought it was a very.
But
like,
even if you know it,
Yeah.
still, I don't think it really matters.
I didn't know
I don't
anything
know,
about
but-
this other than the trailer.
I still
Yeah.
don't think you know.
I do know. I don't want to ruin it. I enjoy it. It was a very recessed revenge thriller with heart and a story.
About a boy and his dog.
I was confused though. I thought the sister was an ex-girlfriend, and I wondered like, where's the kid's dad? I wasn't sure. That was confused me a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
It wasn't clear to me. Then Wife and Shadow cleared it up, and I was like,
There
that
were a
makes more
couple.
sense.
There were a couple scenes in this where if you missed 5 or 10 seconds, you missed a good chunk.
Yeah.
And I think that when he first, when he first met up with his sister, I think there was some conversation there that that brought you into that whole story. Really.
Well, the relationship made you think that it wasn't an ex because it would be very strange.
Fit. It's those little movements like that that I truly love, and it's not fluid at all or anything like that. Like scenes where he's using just a flashlight, which kind of gives off a blue hue. Just the way that looked, that steely kind of looked natural, and it looked right. It was just an amazing look overall as far as the lighting goes. It has a real the film throughout has a very quiet and ominous tone, and the
It's the ominous and quiet tone.
the
Thanks.
the soundtrack as well, which I loved. It was like very low tones, constant tones, very
Like barely noticeable.
John
Barely-
Constant
exactly
tones.
barely noticeable, almost kind of like from say like Seven during the climactic part of that movie, although much lower, and it's barely noticeable, but it's there, and it really lends a lot of credibility to the scenes when they show up. Let's see. I thought, as far as performances go, I thought Macon Blair was amazing for a guy who had very little to say, and normally when you get something like that, it's like maybe an actor's just trying to pass himself off, as a character in a film by not saying much. Well, granted, he doesn't say much in this film, very little at all, but when he does, you really feel a powerful performance coming out of him, and you really feel the struggles that he's going with. And I agree with everyone else talking about how he's been pulled back into society over what happened, and that's when he starts becoming a little bit more vocal, but not too much. So we're not overwhelmed with that. It's not like the director's trying to force that kind of a personality onto us.
If I can cut you off real quick, and I'm agree with you, so don't hit me. Is that
Hit him.
one thing that worked about this performance is it wasn't it wasn't confident quiet like Ryan Mars Gosling in the Drive films or Only God Forgives. It was like you could tell that he was like at times on autopilot and the rest of the time fucking terrified. Like, like you never thought like that he was in control for like 1 minute, and when he was in control, he was like completely nervous to be on that horse. Like, so
Exactly. Like when he had a chance to take someone. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but when he had a chance to take someone down, and out in the field.
Oh
And, that's a perfect example of what Dynamo's talking about. I didn't feel the violence was gratuitous by any means.
No, it wasn't.
It was
No.
not.
It wasn't.
Normally, a revenge film,
No.
you would catch on to the gratuitous violence right away. You'd see bloodshed, within every 15 seconds, and that just wasn't the case here. So it was kind of nice to see that the violence here was realistic, true, and gory enough to be realistic, not hyper violent or anything like that. And it wasn't an overly stylized revenge film like the Bourne series or the Taken films.
Oh, not at all.
It was very subdued, very laid back, and also it was good to see Eve Plum back in front of the camera again, taking on a role. She took on the dire straits of being Jan Brady for so many years that she came back to be the mom or the grandmom in this film or whatever. And so I mean, but that's my little happy place, just to see a Brady back in the front of the camera.
I thought
again.
they were going to get down at that part. I don't know why I thought that.
Get down.
Yeah, that's a fucking movie.
I just have to say, guest 530 in the chat room says, I'm new here. Why is that guy talking into a frog's ass?
And it's because of the XSplit software that we can
XSplit.
see.
Yep.
See that.
It's because of the smell. That's the reason. And
Rocky.
we're sorry, and we're just sorry. That's
Yeah.
all.
An anonymous user, you are happier if you don't know.
Yeah. Rocky just joined the chat room. And
Nice.
Rock.
And he says, I was in a revenge film in my bathroom about an hour ago. Blood, violence.
He ate one of those burritos, I bet you.
Maybe he did.
Frito, Dorito, burrito, right, Rock?
But overall, this movie was just an enjoyable one. I loved it. I love revenge films like this. I love realistic revenge films like this. It really, it's definitely one to watch again and again.
Cool. Hey, Jay, why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit about this film? First of all, where did you see it? Was it at TIFF or was it?
No,
another?
I did not get to see it at TIFF. I saw it at the Boston Underground Festival in March.
That's right. I actually had the opportunity to see it with you, and I had too much
Yeah.
going on that weekend.
Yeah.
What's going on? Why are you laughing? Jay's talking.
It's fine. It's fine.
No,
I mean,
no,
what can I say?
there's
We
a real
talked about
reason.
how-
There's a real reason why I'm laughing.
Why?
Because Dynamo just
Tickled me.
he just eyeballed himself with the fucking microphone.
Jesus Christ.
Fuck.
I think we're going to have a black eye.
Please continue.
Yeah, Jay, you were saying?
I wasn't saying anything actually.
It's a fucking problem. Talk, Jay.
No, I don't think there's a whole lot to say. I mean, we talked about how great the characters or the acting was. We talked about the cinematography. We talked about, I guess, for lack of a better word, the screenplay and how sort of dense it is, but how full it is, even though it's sort of sparse. I mean, I think the thing for me is, this movie clearly is not good. No, I'm joking, of course. Yeah, no, I mean, this movie, I think for me, this is a film, it's so hard to talk about without giving away what makes it so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
It really is. I think
Let's speak in code. Let's try to speak in code.
well, yeah, no, and I'm not gonna give anything away. I think what I would say is that, like, and MZ brought up something where he said he loves revenge films like this, and I think, like, I can't think of a revenge film that I've ever seen like this.
Me either.
Right.
Where it's revenge is obviously the theme, or sort of the catalyst for the movie, but that's sort of, again, I have to code this here. It's not necessarily the revenge. It's sort of, you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
The other part.
It's sort of the rest of the movie. It's
Right.
It's
It's that lifestyle that you inadvertently create.
Right.
Yes, it's sort of the story you create when you choose to take revenge, as opposed to the actual, like, I'm going to take revenge.
Right.
And I think that's what was really wonderful about the film to me is this was not a again, by reading the description, this was not a calculated killer. This is not somebody who's been sitting around for 10 years or whatever waiting to exact revenge. Even if he was, like, because it kind of seems that way at the beginning, right? He's just kind of living a lifestyle. He gets the news that this guy's out and he's immediately in the car going to, like, clearly do something. But it's like the idea that then what happens after that, when you make that choice and all of the things that come with that.
Because I think he thought that was it, right? Like,
Yeah.
in
Well, and I
his
think,
simpler
yeah.
world, like that was all right. Well, I did that, and
Well,
now it's done.
Well, and also I think more when he tries to reintegrate himself in some way into his old life, or has to reintegrate himself into his old life. In a way, it's like he couldn't deal with the horrors that happened years ago to his parents, and I don't think that's a spoiler.
No.
But then by having to go back home. And we see that time and time again. I mean, I don't think it's a spoiler to say he catches up with an old friend who he knew in high school, and that relationship, it's like it kind of fucks him up in a weird way, right? I mean, the guy's trying to say like, "What happened to you, dude? Like, where you been?" And I feel like all of that stuff was so wonderful, so simple, and done with such sort of clarity and effectiveness, and then adding in all the kind of like shit that could go wrong, and all the sort of silly things that you would do, that are humorous when we're watching them because we're living in sort of a postmodern, viewership. But at the same time, I think that was just the wonderful piece of it. It really just, it was funny. I think people said this. It was funny when it had to be. It was violent when it had to be. I mean, bloody violent. I mean, graphic violence. Not sort of like, oh, something violent happened, but really like, but also very quiet and very sort of, introspective. And there's one thing too. I don't know if you got this. I've seen this movie now three times. Three times. And I feel like there's underneath all of this, not to get too like, I don't know, sort of liberal or whatever, but I do feel like there's kind of a weird sort of, I don't know if it's a gun metaphor or some kind of thing about, the use of guns, or the idea that if you just have a gun, like that will solve the problem, or because there's all these lines in there, especially one guy says something very clearly in the movie because he's shocked by what happens, and the guy says, well, that's what guns do.
Right.
Like, so why are you shocked that happened? Like,
there's a lot in that whole like 5-minute thing, because there's there's that political undercurrent of, or just societal undercurrent of, whoever has the gun is telling the truth.
Right. Right. And that's what I'm saying. I feel like that's the real sort of smart kind of like, it's a simple revenge drama that kind of goes in many different directions, which is wonderful. But at its heart, it really is a kind of a product of our time, or referencing something in our time that I think is that I think most people, when they see it, they get, right. It might be a little slow for some people, but they sort of go,
Raven Shadow.
Yeah, no, I don't. Raven Shadow loved it, and I think he's right. So those are all the things I think I have to say. I mean, we've talked, when everybody likes something, it's sort of like, oh, what do you really oh, you can't spoil it. And this is a film you can't really say a lot about because there's so many specific moments, and if you mention it, it's like, oh, you just gave away something so wonderful in the film.
Yeah, it's more like you're more inclined to talk about the style of the film than the plot.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And I think, and I will say that somebody mentioned, because I noticed this. Well, I noticed two things last night when I watched it for the third time, which I had never noticed. One, his name's not just Dwight; his name is Dwight Evans.
Yeah,
which is awesome.
I know.
Oh shit!
So for all you New Englanders, I kept telling him like Dewey.
I actually I had heard it and it didn't put like two and two together, but the last time when he says it on the answering machine, like the absurdity of the name like really hit me like a bucket of water. It was very funny.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
I love that.
24, Dwight Evans. But no, so I thought that was just a side thing. The other thing I thought that the juxtaposition, or I guess the bookend is not juxtaposition. The bookends at the beginning and the end of sort of those still images, that sort of almost artistic sort of just like, a tree or a lightning bolt, or at the beginning, a dock or something like that. Just these kind of like subtle single things in the world that we live in, as a bookend to the movie. That it is sort of taking place in a real place in a real world, in you know, this isn't a fantasy, this isn't a revenge fantasy film. This is a sort of a serious film, and I thought that was a really nice artistic touch. I thought that kind of brings you into the movie, and then at the end kind of lets you settle for a moment before the film is sort of finally over. Right? We see the door of the house and so forth and so on. I don't think that's too much of a spoiler. So I love this movie. I think this filmmaker, I'm really impressed. I hadn't seen Murder Party when I saw this film, and after I saw it at the Boston Underground Film Festival, I immediately went and sought it out, Murder Party. And again, I think that film is not as good. I think it's very good. And you have to go into it, though, sort of like understanding, you know, sometimes movies are comedic and there's a purpose for that. And I think Josh really sort of sold that really well. That you have to kind of know that there is kind of a taking a piss out of something in that film. If you try to go in and think it's a sort of standard horror film, you completely. But I think this director's got a way upside, and I don't know where he goes from now, but from here. But I think he's somebody you should keep an eye on, because he could probably do really interesting work in the future. And again, this movie costs like basically nothing, I think, right? I didn't look at the numbers,
probably.
but I think the big thing I read about this film was that there was this is a product of Kickstarter, this movie.
Really?
From what I understand. So, you know, a lot of reviews or articles about the film talk about, you know, this is the beauty of Kickstarter, right? That somebody like this can get money to make a movie like this that can play Toronto and go all over the world. So there's all my thoughts. I'm sorry. I know sometimes I talk too long. So carry on.
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually didn't really research much about the Kickstarter. I knew it was a Kickstarter crowd-funded film. And just looking at this was in August 30th, 2012. So basically 2 years ago is when this got funded. And they were asking for $35,000 and they got $37,000. So I'm sure that's not all. You know, I'm sure they got a little additional funds to finish the film out, but yeah, that's pretty awesome, because there you go. I mean, that's one of the good things about Kickstarter, I guess, that this film was made because of crowdfunding. You know.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, and you think about, like, I know some people who think the film's boring, or like, oh, nothing, it's just sort of quiet, and okay, well.
Are they not your friend anymore?
You know, how do you respond to those people? You know, it's like, how are you not completely engrossed with every turn of this of the? I mean, this is a tight screenplay with, like somebody said, no dialogue, basically, or very little dialogue, and you know, moments where, like, somebody asking for I don't even want to say anything, because it's like everything is so
right. Yeah. Sure.
I think it's closest that I could come, and I'm sure that there's like there's a couple, like when I can't remember the name of it. It's a Robert Altman film with Tim Robbins.
Popeye?
Nope. You know, when Brutus was really putting the screws to Poop Deck Pappy.
Poop Deck Pappy.
But the last movie that I had seen for the first time that made me feel, The Player, maybe that was it's called.
Yeah, it's the Tim Robbins Altman film. Yeah.
Yeah, made me feel that way, and then, you know, I think the most obvious, like, if you're gonna say, though it's different in how wordy this example is, I think the most obvious, like, turn the screw thing of this type of movie is it reminded me of Blood Simple, in the sense where everything kind of goes wrong that possibly can go wrong, and the best laid plans of the worst intentions, like, usually lead to, like, terrible things happening.
Just want to read just a couple paragraphs here from the Kickstarter, and this is actually a really good synopsis here. It just says, "We promise action, gore, laughs, and with your help, we'll even crash a stretch limousine into a ditch." But at our story's core, and what will set this film apart from standard genre fare, is a deeply human story about a haunted man confronting his past and the fleeting moments he shares with his big sister before hurtling towards a nightmarish fate.
Yeah.
And
that's much better than what IMDb puts out.
That's a synopsis. Yeah, that's a synopsis.
And the paragraph about what they're asking for, it says, "The absolute bare minimum we need to make this film as a reality. As for ourselves, we're going all in, maxing out credit cards, refinancing homes, and cashing in retirement accounts. but we need 35 to 50K in order to cover expenses we can't swipe, barter for, or defer. So I'd be curious to find out how much this film was actually made for.
So
but
they may have, if it was personally financed like that too, with like remortgages and stuff, could have been a couple $100,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a real
Possible.
gamble. That's a big gamble.
Oh well, fuck it then. That movie sucks. They spent too
Maybe, maybe depends.
I'm gonna guess it's less than $1 million though, all
Oh,
combined.
come on, yeah.
no-
I
no
was
question,
I was looking at
no
this movie. I'm thinking 600,000 probably 500,000.
Maybe that. I don't think so. I'm thinking like 200, maybe 3.
I mean,
maybe
look what when we and I don't think that I think this was a good looking movie, despite like not being a giant fan of it. But look at what that Cabin Fever film we did a week or so back
Mhm.
cost. Like it
Yeah.
start taking away production value and stuff from there.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, while it's cheaper to film a movie over there, and that's why Eli Roth keeps doing it. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think the mean streets of I don't even know. Do we know for sure where this was? Because it looked like New Jersey.
I think it was supposed to be Delaware, but I don't
Yeah.
know where they.
Yeah,
filmed it.
Virginia.
He started in Delaware,
Right.
but then a lot of the license plates were Virginia.
Virginia. Yeah.
So
Okay,
Yeah.
Virginia. Yeah.
Delaware's pretty dreadful too.
I don't know if that's where it was actually filmed or not, but
And the postcard was a Virginia postcard.
You're right.
Yeah.
You are a smart man.
Yeah.
There you go. Yep.
Well, you saw the movie.
Yeah, he paid attention.
Well, I feel like without talking about anything of it, like there's only a few times like I got emotional about the impact of a film, if not necessarily like not because of what went on. And the final appearance of that postcard was one of those times.
Yeah.
Like I put that right up there, though totally different sort of thing with the theater being on fire and Inglorious Bastards
Yes.
of like
Yeah.
a time when I was like, this is why I love cinema. Like this is what it's all about for me.
Tiny, why don't you go ahead and talk about Blue Run?
Sure.
Oh
yeah,
shit!
sure.
More people have to fucking talk.
Yeah, we need
still?
two more. Yeah.
I won't talk long. We've said a lot about this
Yeah.
movie, just to summarize already. But this is an excellent movie, and I will gladly debate with anybody that doesn't think it's an excellent movie. You may or may not like it, but this is undisputably, in my opinion, an excellent movie. It looks great. The production value is absolutely top notch. The acting is top notch. There was like one or two scenes where it was like just slightly below excellent, but for the most part, just freaking excellent from beginning to end. Like didn't miss a trick. The editing is excellent. The lighting is excellent. It was just they did it in such a classy way. Even the violence was done in such a classy, human and intimate way that I don't know, it's just to me it's just undisputably phenomenal. People may not like slow movies or people may not like violent movies, but this is an excellent movie.
That's
It
an
really-
interesting thing though. Like I didn't find it like slow. Like I felt like it was deliberate.
I didn't
but like
I didn't find it slow either. I can understand like when you have those pensive panning shots of a household scene with nothing happening. People are so deeply ingrained in the idea of movement and in dialogue and everything that if it's not there, it's painful for them. But man, it's just that's life. You know what I mean? That was a very, very powerful way, I thought, of showing what that life was. What that family was, what that relationship was. And it was a really phenomenal juxtaposition of that violent track that this movie took compared to the slow pensive life that came just before it. That just like a life of nothing, no forward movement really at all for him. And a very subdued, reserved life for his sister. She was resigned to that, and she started her life anew. But those slow, almost still life scenes, juxtaposed with the momentum of the rest of that stuff was I just thought so powerful. The whole thing, the I think classy is a good word for this. I mean, in spite of the fact that like some really horrible stuff happens, the human element of it just keeps it so classy. You know, it's never gratuitous. It never wants to hand you something that excites you. You know, it almost makes you feel guilty for wanting it to go further than it did. You know what I mean? Like the whole time I was watching this movie, I'm just like, this is going to get really ugly. This is going to get really bad and like nasty, and the special effects, this and that. Honestly, I did not consider the special effects once. I wasn't like, oh, good special effect. I was just like, that guy's bleeding. That happened to that guy.
Yeah.
Like it was just classy. It was like right on point. Totally just completely right on point. I mean, they took the money that they had and they did, I'm convinced, the absolute best movie that they could possibly do with that money. I just don't see any room for improvement. I don't.
Yeah, Ledger just posted. He must have did a Bing search. He said the production cost was $425,000. So
425.
just under $500,000.
Wow.
Yep.
Pretty impressive.
Very, very impressive.
Do you have anything else to say, Tony?
No, I'm set.
Why is Tiny so articulate?
I know what he took his fish oil pills today or something because he's on point.
He knew we were coming on. He spent a few hours writing that out earlier.
I did. I just did an 8-ball right before I started.
He's puffing up his chest.
Yeah.
Sticking his chest out.
There he is.
And you know what's sad too? Okay, because I even hate to talk. I hate to talk 90% of the time, maybe 100%. I don't know. When you talk movies and you talk money about how much it cost or whatever, you're always like, that's such a bullshit discussion anyway. In some ways, but clearly for what they spent and what they got. But the sad thing is, I was just looking up online here. You know, this thing's made under $300,000 at the box office. Now again, he's got DVD and probably lots of, and he's probably fine as a filmmaker, but that's the kind of thing where you go, how sad is that? Like that a production company or a distributor, has to really think about taking a chance on a $500,000 movie. Right. to try to make some bucks, and I think this is what's happening. I mean, not to get on a sidetrack of a discussion, but I think this is what's happening with like movies like this, is that we don't see a lot of movies like this because who's going to pick it up? Who's going to really take a chance on a film that most people, like I said, universally say, even if you didn't like it or you thought it was a little slow, like it's pretty great, you should check it out. And it can barely get in the theaters. It can barely make any money at the theater. And then, it's sort of relying wholly on that VOD money or that and that's kind of sad if you think about it, because there's probably tons of filmmakers like this guy who have really great stories and really interesting takes on genres of films that so then you either have to make like a super micro low budget film for nothing, and then you're always at the whim of, oh well, it's kind of cheesy because they didn't have anything.
Well, I think it's why
or a $500 million film. There's no in between anymore. It's very it's kind of sad when you think about that.
I think it's why the more horror, sci-fi, like even something that was obviously a little more expensive, like say Snowpiercer, like why that stuff is so prominent right now in the kind of streamy new version of the VHS boom almost, is that people will watch that whether it's trash or it's awesome. Like, so the fact that Snowpiercer was awesome, there's a built-in audience because it's a science fiction movie or an action movie. When you kind of stretch yourself out a little bit and make something, forget about it being deliberate, make something that you can't easily classify into like one of the multiplex genres, like you're at a risk in 2014 of taking a bath.
We're sort of going to touch on this a little bit later too in the next discussion. Not exactly that topic, but we're going to touch on topics like that.
I do want to interject.
We're sorry we didn't get a format of what we should talk about.
No,
do not talk about do not make comparisons about streaming being similar to the VHS.
I didn't say you couldn't talk about it.
Don't do it.
Well, no, what I wanted to interject though is that since I saw this theatrically, but not at a festival,
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing is that this is kind of a perfect example of what's wrong with the quote-unquote Hollywood system, is that the only theater in the entirety of Rhode Island that showed this film was the $2 second-run theater.
Are you shitting me?
Like,
Well,
not even the art house theaters.
That is so
took
not
this.
right, man.
Well, I will interject, and I will add to that.
Yeah.
Because I showed this. The only reason why this film played in Charlotte in the movie theater for 2 screenings was because I booked it.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know if that was the entire state. It might have been. So in North Carolina, and I will tell you very, very specifically that this is a Weinstein. The same as Snowpiercer. This was a Weinstein company distributed film. Okay, and I called them up and I said, "Hey, I love this movie. I want to show it. I'm going to book it for 2 screenings. That's all I can give you because I don't own a movie theater. I have to rent it.
Right.
But I will pay money to a theater and pay VPF fees to run projectors because I want to give an audience, exactly like you said, Josh, an opportunity to see this film in a movie theater, right? To see it on a screen with the sound and and great sound, because there are moments where like things happen where you're like, what was that? And then another thing happens and you're like, holy shit, that just happened. And Weinstein, like, they did everything in their power to basically say, yeah, we're just not really interested.
Yeah.
Wow, really?
It's too much of a hassle to sort of figure out, like, what are the terms going to be? Oh, wait, you're only going to show it twice. Like, we're going to have to, like, ship you a thing. And, and they were literally saying, like, it's on VOD. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
And that's what happened to Snowpiercer. I mean, Snowpiercer luckily got released into theaters, and that was a Weinstein as well. But once they saw it was doing a little bit of business, they, like, upped the VOD. And then the box office went... I mean, Snowpiercer's grossed, what, $5 million on a $50 million budget or something like that? So, this is the other thing, is that, Weinstein's notorious for buying films and then not giving a shit because they just want the one King's Speech or the one movie that they can hold up, the Tarantino film they can hold up for the Oscars or something, and maybe they'll get lucky. But I think that plays exactly to, Josh's point where Regal or AMC most of the time, they're not going to do it because they're just like, we're not interested in stuff that's on VOD because that's stuff people can get in their house. And then if anybody else in town, a $2 theater or a mom and pop theater or a little, sort of 1 screen or 2 screen that somebody's running on their own wants to show something, it's like, it's too much of a hassle. And that's really sad when you think about, like, this movie, everybody should see this movie. There should be reviews in every major newspaper about this film. But,
yes, I agree.
Now, the reason I was saying that it's indicative of what's wrong with Hollywood, though, is that by seeing this film, it's kind of the thing where you would assume it's not for everyone. Now, to give you an idea of the demographic of this movie theater, it's in a very rundown town, and it is in a parking lot that abuts a trailer park. So. We saw this film on the opening Friday at the 7 p.m. show, and most of the audience was teenagers and, like, middle-aged men. Nobody talked. Nobody, like, and there seemed to be just as many people there at the end of the film as at the beginning. Everybody that went into that theater was completely into this film. And that... And it's just one of those things where it's like, from a marketing standpoint, this looks like a failure. But for the places where people got to see it, people loved it.
Yeah, I was just looking on Rotten Tomatoes just to see what the tomato meter says, and it's 96% right now, and that's for I think that's for critics. Yeah, that's for critics. Yeah. The audience is 77%. So I can't imagine there's that many films that have such a high rating amongst critics. That's pretty nuts.
Yeah, that's pretty high.
Yeah.
And again, because I think this film really does it doesn't turn the genre on its head, clearly. Like, it's, but when you think of a revenge drama or a revenge thriller, you think of a very specific type of film, and this does those things in some ways, but it also does a ton of other wonderful things that I think for people like us who all watch a shitload of movies, we're like, wow, that just happened? Like,
Right.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Or like 20 minutes in, you're like, oh wait, the movie's going this way now?
Yeah.
Hold on a
Right,
second.
right.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of go, huh? And that's really brilliant, I think. And that's where you sort of, I think when Josh talks about an audience of middle-aged men or younger people, they're looking for something fresh and interesting and new. And so are the people who are middle-aged men. I'm in my 40s now, so I guess I'm a middle-aged man,
Fucking trying, man.
That's old.
Yeah, I mean, so it's like we're looking for, because we've seen a ton of
Right.
revenge dramas and thrillers,
Yeah.
and we sort of know all the tropes, and that doesn't make a movie bad if it sort
No.
of checks off all the boxes.
No.
But we go, oh, it checks off the boxes and it's doing that too.
Right.
Somebody had an interesting idea on how to take this further. Really wonderful. But I will go back to, because I think it's important. I think everyone or most people who see this film love this film. When we screened it, everyone who saw it screened it. We didn't have huge audiences, but we had good audiences. But I think it really is sad that, that studios or even independent distributors of like people who make films with their own production companies, it's becoming really hard. And then what's going to happen is potentially, not that it's a bad thing, but this guy will probably get offered some 2 or 3 movies down the road, a big Hollywood picture. And then he'll just get sort of sucked into that. Again, I have no idea to know, but he gets sucked in, and then as the studio starts taking away, well, you can't do this or you can't do that, or and then it's like, it's great he's making big budget movies now, but he's not making stories that he wants to make. And I think I think that's sad. I mean, I know lots. I'm sure most of you guys know people who are independent or small budget filmmakers who just they can't get a movie made.
No.
They can't get a movie picked up by the fact that Eli Roth can't get a movie like put in the theaters now.
That's crazy,
Because-
right?
Yeah, I
How
mean, it's
scary is that?
And
for-
again, not that I have anything good to say about that film, but it's like, that's crazy to me. That's insane,
well, it's-
because they're looking at it and they're saying, like, what are we gonna do with this?
I mean, it's the same thing. Like I talk about this a lot on the Fib and here a few times. Like Rob Zombie couldn't get a hockey movie made at a time that hockey was hot, and he's Rob Zombie.
Did you say hockey?
Yeah,
When has hockey ever been hot?
hockey was. hockey was
Thank you.
It hasn't been hot since the last
Remember
time
Hockey
they had a
2,
strike.
Hockey
Since-
3 that had,
Yeah.
that had
Since
Dolph
Peter
Lundgren
Puck,
in it?
since Peter Puck in the early '80s. You remember Peter Puck? Come on, anybody?
No.
Peter Puck? No.
Midsummer
idea.
Night's Dream. That one.
Peter Pucker.
Peter Puck. Come on.
I guess while I do think hockey had a big resurgence a few years ago, while I think there is no bright side to the situation of the marketing of this, and while it's great that people who've seen it have liked it, I think that if there is any bright side at all, this movie didn't fall victim to a plot synopsis and a marketing campaign of somebody who was trying to sell this film, because that would be a terrible thing to happen if you thought that you were getting Death Wish or Kill Bill and walked into this movie.
Well, but I would disagree slightly though, because just to have some conflict on this episode.
Fuck you,
Look at
hockey!
the-
People like
yeah,
it.
look
The
at
Bruins
look at
won a couple years ago, Jay.
I think that's what you're
Yeah,
thinking
oh,
of.
shit, yeah.
Locally,
Look
it was
at-
hot.
Look at the
I know a lot of
description. Look at the description that was on his Kickstarter page that we were all like, yeah, that's the movie. And then look at the description that the distributor put out for the synopsis of the film that we're all like, well, I don't, I mean, using the word assassin.
I agreed. Yeah. Totally.
I mean, there are those sort of subtle things of they had to figure out how can we market this film. And I think even if you watch the trailer, while I think the trailer is a good trailer and it doesn't give a lot away, which is nice, I think if you do watch the trailer, that they clearly are setting this up as like he's, gonna get his, this is a revenge movie, a pure, straight up, from beginning to end, the whole movie revolves around that. And I think, again, that's not bad for them because they have to do that, right? I'm sure Josh talked about teenagers in the audience who went and saw it. They probably saw an ad and was like, oh, I got to see that movie. And then maybe they were sucked in by something else. and maybe some of them weren't. You know, maybe in the Saturday night show there were 10 kids who were like, "Fuck this! Why is this dude not saying anything?" You know, or I don't get it. You know, when's somebody gonna die or you know, whatever. I don't. So I think that's the only thing. I think they have to figure out how to market this film, and they did a good job to the people who liked it, or to people who went and saw it. But you know, I think those audiences are dwindling, and I think it's because the studios aren't willing to sort of tell. Again, it might be the second part of our discussion tonight, but we're teasing it. I think, you know, it's like, because some of us believe that seeing a film in the theater is important,
right,
and valid. Definitely at least two people who've sort of talked about it already. And you know, I don't know if distributors and studios think that way anymore. No. They only think of the movie theaters as a way to sort of like market the film.
Right.
It's a way to market it to all the other things, TV and DVD and Blu-ray and iTunes.
It's important to the big box outlets, the money you get for it.
Yeah.
You know, like why, if it runs in a theater, if it doesn't run in a theater, like that's a whole different like contract with like a Walmart or a Target or something like that.
Yeah, and like I said, Weinstein was like, they didn't even want to be bothered with it. They didn't even want to be bothered. Like, here was somebody saying, I want to show your film. And they were sort of like, oh, really? Like,
we gotta find a box. We gotta find
bizarre.
A box.
Yeah. They probably had to burn an extra Blu-ray as a backup, and put it on a hard drive. And they're like, holy shit! Like, and we have to ship it, and just like, oh, can't we just upload it to the Time Warner server and people can watch it there? Like, isn't that enough? It's really strange. But anyway, we totally went into I don't know where we went with this, but.
Well,
I could listen to you talk about movies all day. Please don't take that as I'm flirting.
Okay.
Did you do it slower?
I'm a very lonely man.
I'm a good cutler.
I have Raven Shadow's picture right here. So.
There you go. There you go.
He's a lonely man.
Giants don't die.
No, they don't.
They live in our hearts and our minds and in our stories. And if we do that, then we're all immortal, Tiny.
Yes. Nice.
Okay.
All right. Obviously, 6 people have talked about this movie, and I fucking love this movie, so there's not much else I can really add. I just want to concentrate a little bit more on the visual storytelling, because everyone said it was very minimal script. The visual storytelling was fucking incredible.
Top notch.
And the funny thing is, I watched this late at night, and so I sort of wanted to keep the volume down a little bit, and I also had the dryer was running, so there's like all this noise going on, but I didn't want to have it be too loud. And then I realized I didn't really even need to hear all the dialogue or focus on every single thing, and because of that, like, I could tell what was going on perfectly. I didn't even need. There's a couple times I rewound just to hear the dialogue, but for the most part, I could tell exactly what was going on. This is a film that you could watch without any dialogue, and you would understand like absolutely everything that's going on. And I think that's pretty fucking awesome. Like, that's not many movies can do that. Especially, Tiny, you watch a lot in 2X, right?
Yeah.
Or sometimes. And
Can we not never talk about that again? Like, stop it.
I do what I have to do. I'm a busy guy.
Yeah. It's bad enough that I'm, without Josh here, mind you, I'm usually, flanked by the world's worst critics. Like, now you're admitting to watching things on fast forward. Thanks. For the guy who writes reviews, it makes him look real good.
And I just love the minimalistic approach. This told the story it wanted to tell. It didn't have any of the Hollywood flash of like, oh, well, we need to have explosions. We need to have this because that's what people are expecting. No, it didn't do that. It just did exactly what it intended to do, and that was to tell a story, a human story, as the Kickstarter said, about this guy who, once again, trying to be spoiler free, but, he wants to get revenge, and then what happens is it's a very realistic take on it. He's very impulsive. He's not, he didn't think this thing through, and it feels very real to me. Like, it seems like if I'm not trained like Tiny and Dynamo are. So if I want to go kill someone, it probably wouldn't be very pretty, you know? And just the way some of this unfolds is perfect, because it's like, yeah, that's probably exactly how it would go down. This guy's not a superhero. He's not, you know, he just does what he thinks is the right thing to do, and he can't necessarily pull it off because he's just a regular dude, you know? Yeah. And so I really love the storytelling, and it just felt so real to me, and that's something you don't get very often. You have to suspend disbelief for a lot of these Hollywood films, and I didn't feel I needed to do that at all. This feels so real. It could have felt like a found footage film, or you know, something like we're following somebody. Like, this is absolutely probably what would happen.
I think if this was taken along the route of being a found footage film, I think it wouldn't be as good.
Oh, I'm not saying it should be. I'm just saying if...
Though Monsters Hero does enjoy the genre of the found footage
genre. Yeah.
That I do, yes.
And the tension that was created in this film was off the charts. There was at least 3 scenes where I was like on the edge of my seat. And I know someone else had mentioned that, but they absolutely ratcheted up the tension so good. And the sound design and the score all fed into that. It was really well done. And Macon Blair, it was said already, but he was fucking brilliant in this role.
He's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is absolutely a movie that needs to be seen. So anyone out there, I mean, I think it's already unanimous. We don't need the verdict, but we'll do it anyways.
Just because you like the show, Busta Rhymes.
Yeah.
No, because we need to.
Yeah. All right. So we'll do that. We'll make it official here.
Yeah. Otherwise, it wouldn't count.
That's right. Let's make it count. So let's go to the verdict portion.
Trick or treat, baby. I wonder if people would say you're a trick or a treat.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
I love that he has the air horn.
Yeah. All right.
That movie's
so
such a piece of crap. I love it.
it's terrible.
I love it.
Awful.
We got to consummate the review.
All right. So real quick, everyone will go around the room. Everyone give you a trick or treat, and then any just final last thoughts you have about this film, Dynamo.
Oh, Trick. This movie sucks. No, this movie is fucking perfect. Like I said, there are very few opportunities. And this might be one of the only times that I can think of, certainly as long as the show has been going, but maybe ever, where I had that sort of emotional experience with a movie that I was watching not in a theater. You know, in fact, I didn't even watch this on my... I didn't watch this on my shitty TV. I didn't watch this on my awesome TV that's still at Tiny's house and I haven't picked up. I watched this on my laptop at the artist formerly known as Black Diamond, and I was like, you could have lit a fucking fire next to me and I wouldn't have looked up. I was enthralled. This is perfect cinema. It is a treat.
Awesome, Josh.
It's definitely a treat. Go watch it. Buy it.
Yes, definitely buy it. Raven Shadow.
I really enjoyed this. There's this great gunshot scene. I loved the cashier, and I loved the extraction. If that's vague enough.
Oh yeah.
Treat.
All right.
Yeah, that was a good comedy piece, actually.
Yeah.
I had an accident on my leg.
All right, MZ.
Not only do I see this as being a top 10 potential candidate, but I see this as a top 5 potential candidate. Outstanding film. Minimalistic involvement in the characters, but it plays out perfectly. Absolutely a definite treat.
All right, Jay.
Yep, treat all the way. Great film, solid screenplay, shot really well, and extra points for his buddy there, played by that dude from Home Alone.
Yes,
Buzz.
Yeah. Great. I mean, great. Just a casting. You know, I think it's been said 1,000 times. The performances are all right on. They're not too over the top. Yeah, really great movie. I don't do top 10s, but I think not Raven Shadow, MZ's probably right. I mean,
You just talked yourself out of inviting you to the end of the year show. I was thinking.
no, I'm
about
saying this would be a. I just said maybe I'll do one, whatever. But this would definitely have to be considered for that. I can't imagine it's not one of the great films of the year. And more people should see it.
It's a
and really
palate
sort of-
cleaner for sure. You know, like
Yeah. A palate cleaner?
yeah, like
Yeah.
you know, like I feel like now I'm like this is so much better than anything that I've seen this year. I think that like it really has changed the way you know that I think about you know what I saw this year. And I don't even mean that I saw it like pretty much back-to-back nights, Expendables 3 and Turtles. Like, I mean like the big kid movies that I watched.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So great movie treat. Definitely watch it.
All right, Tiny.
I'm really curious. I mean, talking about the award-winning movies of this year, I'm really curious to see something better than this. You know, like again, this isn't for like the mom and pop like let's go like eat popcorn at the movies crowd, but I don't know of a better movie than this year. You know, like I know
I could give you one.
What is it?
What is it?
Lock.
Lock?
Oh, with that fucking guy.
For me personally, but continue. Sorry.
With that fucking guy.
I'm
What?
curious.
Tom
I'm curious.
Tom
Bane,
Hardy.
Bane.
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Lock.
cool. I'll check that definitely.
It's one
But,
actor the entire film.
It's just amazing to me. Like, so that's one movie, right?
Yeah.
So one movie is better than this year, and yet this isn't going to be in contention for anything. Probably, like nobody's seen this. Like this isn't gonna. There aren't going to be any awards, any like prestigious awards given to this at the end of the year. You know,
Nope.
nobody. This director, writer, cinematographer, director of photography, like all in one, isn't going to be walking up to receive an award with the big guys.
No.
You know, and that's broken. Like that's just broken. You know.
We'll
Like,
talk about
right.
this later, but like I feel like that whole system is turned. You know, like
Yeah.
none
yeah.
of that fucking matters
Yeah,
anymore. At least stateside.
I have seen a lot of people online talking about how they think Macon Blair should be nominated for an Oscar. for-
I agree.
Yeah.
Ain't it amazing?
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah.
him and Buzz. Like I feel like this could be Buzz's Pulp Fiction. You know, like you know if anybody saw this movie, like you know you would see that guy in fucking everything because he was fucking awesome.
Buzz Goodyear.
So, huge treat for me. I'm waiting with bated breath to watch something better. I will definitely go check out Locke.
And just to round it out, so it's unanimous. This is also definitely a treat for me. I would say that this film is incredibly well made, and for someone who I think this is just a second feature film, it's pretty fucking ridiculous. It has a fantastic score, great sound design, and creates incredible tension. And this film gives you just as much as you need, and it makes it feel incredibly realistic.
Mm-hmm.
And this film absolutely needs to be seen. It's on VOD, so go check it out. You know, if it's playing in theaters anywhere near you, definitely go see this in theaters. This is one that I very much regret not seeing in a theater. This is probably, I guess we'd say, a treat of the highest order for me and for everyone on the show that's been talking about it. So you need to go check out Blue Ruin. It's a great fucking movie.
Yeah, I
Wait-
think this is the first time we've ever had a 7-treat night.
Yeah, at least on the show.
That,
There was
that
that-
you know of, yeah.
There was that time that in Taiwan I had a 7-treat night.
Yeah.
Right.
I keep
And we saw
seeing
Guardians of the Galaxy.
I keep seeing Josh on this playback of the show and keep thinking the Ghost of Ares has appeared next to me.
Nice.
You know, and I'm going to say something very bold here. While Trick or Treat Radio is broke and you know, Josh from the Arkham Film Society are not millionaires, if you're a theater person out there and you know are looking for you know, interested in putting this out, but money is an issue. Like, you know, maybe we can all get together and make something happen. You know, like this is a movie that you should. While I can't, you know, while I didn't see it in theater, I agree 100% with what Wolfie said. Like, I feel like I missed out by not seeing it in theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's going to be. This is one of those films in which you're going to be, you know, traipsing through the internet, and you're going to come across a site
Porn.
that says,
like Ray Joe's dad.
you know, and you're going to be coming across a headline that says, you know, top 10 films that you need to see that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, Blue Ruin will be on that list.
Yeah, I hope
And-
not. I hope that
it will. It will. Unfortunately, it will be.
Yeah,
but
unfortunately.
but at least it'll. You know, at least the word will get out with that list, and it must absolutely need to be seen.
I mean, I'm gonna like it's gonna be the movie that I tell everybody to fucking watch this year. Like it's just knocked like Snowpiercer and a couple other things off the fucking pedestal. Is like I remember thinking that last year when we made our top 10, as soon as I saw my number one movie, I knew what my number one movie was going to be. And I remember thinking like, very recently that I had no idea like what it was going to be this year. Like I saw stuff I loved, but nothing like hit me like that. And I guess this, I resigned myself to, well, maybe some years that's just what it is. You know what I mean? Maybe this is the year that, Expendables 3 is number 10. But like for fuck's sake, like this really raised the bar.
Yeah. I'm quote unquote friends with Cindy Brady. I'm quote unquote friends with Cindy Brady on Facebook, and she posted the trailer on her site of this film, and this was about maybe a year ago. And I didn't think much of it, because she with Eve Plum being in it, and I didn't think much of it. Then when I saw it, I'm like, you got to be kidding me! This is what I missed out on this whole time, and it's so worth the watch. You got to see this.
So go check it out, folks.
It's too bad that we don't know anyone that books movies, theaters, and shows films.
I know, right?
That we can throw $200 or $300 at and make movies we like come out and have.
Where are we getting the $200, $300?
Huh? I don't know. Like
get it from our Amazon account.
Fucking sell Raven Shadow's 3 shirts.
Hey,
those things look fancy.
I got 4.
All right, so that's gonna wrap up our coverage.
A night with the Gorgon Night.
I wear a shirt inside out on Friday.
That's going to wrap up our coverage of Blue Ruin. It was unanimous, a treat, and it sounds like it's going to make everyone's top 10 list, if not top 5. So,
oh my lord,
you need to check this out. Next week, this is actually another film that Jay had mentioned on his last appearance. We're going to review the film from 2013, Hong Kong film entitled Rigor Mortis.
I believe he pissed on it.
What?
I believe he pissed on it. I could be wrong.
I was wondering what that smell was.
Did you piss on this, Jay?
That's a yes.
It's a film I'd need to see again.
Okay.
I wasn't high on it when I saw it, but I don't think it's a horrible film. I think it's hard to explain without seeing it. I think that'll be an interesting discussion to hear, definitely, because I think there'll be some mixed opinions there.
So
because it's a throwback to 80s sort of Hong Kong vampire films, but in 21st century.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it'd be interesting to see, while it sort of has a nostalgia and sort of stuff about it at the same time. So it's a film that I was not sort of super high on, but didn't hate. I just was like, okay. So
and
there's my review. I say Trioric.
And it's the directorial debut of Juno Mock.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to check out. Another directorial debut.
Ooh.
Did that say he was involved with Dream Home?
Yes.
What did he do for that?
I think he was an actor.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, he played Cop Fat. I still haven't seen Dream Home, so
Cop Fat.
I'd recommend Dream Home. It's
it's been recommended to us. We just haven't had a chance
to. That's a really good film.
Yeah. So we're going to review Rigor Mortis. This is available on, I think it's available on VOD. So yes, it is. I think it says Amazon Prime. So if you want to check it out, go seek this film out, and we will review it next week. MZ, are you going to stick around for some chat, or are you going to take off?
I'm going to take off, guys.
All right. So
I know I suck.
Yeah, you do suck.
Yep.
You suck felt ass, apparently. Oh, we didn't need that. All right. Before you go, MZ, Rocky posted this picture. This is just for you.
Stop it.
It's a Barbie cupcake.
Nice.
Oh, shit.
Two girls, one cupcake.
Yeah, it's pretty close, actually. I'm not going to post it on the feed.
I dislike everyone involved in that. The Barbies, Monster Zero, Rocky, everyone.
All
You're
right.
just hungry when you see that.
All right, MZ, why don't you go ahead and take us out of here? We'll go to break, and we'll
All
be back
right.
to talk about 35mm film.
Jay, good talking to you, bro.
All right, man. Keep it sleazy.
Right, you keep it real,
All
man.
right.
Josh, bro.
Josh, bro.
I will see you. I will see you later on, man.
In the shower.
Okay. Arrivederci, douchebags.
We interrupt our program with a special bulletin.
Okay, here we go. This is it. Greetings and salutations.
I'm Josh Gravel.
And I'm Scott LaFave.
Oh, good for you.
We want to let you know about the Arkham Film Society.
We're a small group of cinephiles programming classic, horror, cult, and exploitation film events in the Providence, Rhode Island area.
We have such sights to show you.
We try to meet a need for unconventional programming by providing affordable film events through our monthly screening series.
Be one of us.
Find us on Facebook and join our group by searching for the Arkham Film Society at facebook.com/ArkhamScreenings.
Check out our blog at arkhamfilmsociety.blogspot.com.
And stop by our Etsy and buy stuff at etsy.com/people/ArkhamScreenings.
Yes, sir. You, sir. All right already. I'm hip.
We now return control of your television set to you.
Oh, delicious nerds. Ms. M knows you like to chat it up with other sexy shut-ins about comics, movies, video games, and your favorite TV shows. If that sounds like you, cuddle up to the Trick or Treat Radio Facebook group, or the FIB. That stands for Fan Interaction Board. Just go to Facebook and search for Trick or Treat Radio and have more fun than a Jedi at a lightsaber sale. Not enough? Watch us on YouTube, the Deadites TV, all one word. Last but not least, check out the world's most dangerous talk radio show, Trick or Treat Radio, at trickortreatradio.com.
And we've returned from break.
Tiny has not. Somebody can tell him later how I think that. I feel like, though he'll disagree, if he and I have ever written a perfect song, it's Aquaphobic. But if somebody made me pick a B-side to Aquaphobic for like what I think like our best two songs are ever, I think this new song here, Double Damage, that you're hearing the outro of, might be our I don't want to say second best song, but it might be a good bookend with Aquaphobic in both in multiple ways.
Hopefully people will get to hear that soon in its entirety, huh?
Yeah, well, hopefully I don't choke to death and die in my sleep because of my swollen, burnt throat. So we can dream.
Yes, we can dream.
If I keep living healthy like this, I should be okay.
If you keep eating those Dorito Frito burritos.
I swear to God, you think I'm kidding? I will never, I don't even know if I'll go to Taco Bell again.
I don't believe that.
Wolfie.
Yes.
I almost called you by your real name to illustrate how dire this was. Or
what are you talking about? This is my real name.
I should. It hurt. It burned.
Raven Shadow has returned.
Shucks.
And I'm sorry for how he smells, Josh.
And there goes the
thanks.
Vertigo figures.
Thanks. I'm going to make you stand them all up meticulously. All right. Is Tiny back? Is Jay there? Anyone alive over there? All right. Cool.
Now who again?
Yeah, you.
Last time I was involved in an in-depth conversation about 35mm film, Josh and I, along with our good buddy Mr. Chris, had basically not enjoyed a party because we sat in another room and talked about 35mm film the whole time.
But I enjoyed that part.
Yeah, I loved it. It was
Sounds like an enjoyable party to me.
Yeah, it was, all I know is I walked into the other room and they were all like 10 people were watching New Kids on the Block. So I came back. I'm like, I'm gonna go back and talk about movies.
Yeah, it was either watch bad music videos on TV or have an intellectual discussion about film.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. Any conversation that has me on it is not in the intellectual part of the library.
Well, no, but me and Chris
that's
were
fair.
also talking.
Two of the three. Yeah.
Yeah.
two
That's
out of
fair.
3 ain't bad.
I was
That's-
I was definitely the Joe Bessa of that ensemble.
All right. So as we said earlier, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't have a discussion about 35 millimeter. And so here's the thing. So, Josh, you want to talk a little bit about what you do with Arkham Film Society, just so the people out there have sort of can associate with what you do with film.
Okay. Hold on one second. I'm gonna take a drink.
Sorry, I didn't realize you were chewing popcorn.
Sonic break.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, first, I would like to say that in the intro, you were talking about how like you had these like, I don't know, you were referring to us in ways that made us sound very important. Jay, yes. Me, no. I know nothing about film, and I'm not that important in the world of film.
Oh, come on.
But
there's I don't know if we can talk about it, but like there is a film that is going to be released on Blu-ray soon that is only in a watchable form because of you.
It's out.
It's already
it is
out.
out. Is it out?
It's not only because of me though.
Well, I know, but isn't it your copy?
Mine was one of 6 prints used.
I mean, come on now.
But okay. The
I'm
Arkham...
very important. I know that.
So, the Arkham
I'm
Film
joking, of course.
Yeah. The Arkham Film Society is pretty much similar to what Jay had mentioned. Is I rent theaters or spaces and cobble together some equipment if needed and show movies, and it costs more money than it makes.
Yes.
And and I haven't been doing it as much lately because I haven't had any money.
It's going around.
Yeah.
It ain't cheap.
No. Let's just put it this way. Right now, of the 4 Providence area 35 millimeter capable venues, the cheapest one for me to rent on a weeknight would be $1,400 just for the venue.
That's ugly.
Yeah. So that's not counting licensing a film, getting a film print,
Right.
advertising.
I was lucky in the early 2000s because I met him thanks to my good buddies Wolfie and Jay, but my funny book store Dynamo's was in bed with the One Art House Theater in Worcester, and they did all the heavy lifting. I just had to pick the movies.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. But
Was that the theater in the basement of the mall?
yeah.
That theater was awesome. I went
Yeah,
there once.
fucking loved it. I watched Casablanca without my pants on in that theater.
Well, it's
no
Paris
bullet
cinema.
holes in no bullet holes in Stephen Laurie. Remember? I mean, Peter Lorre.
Nope, right. That's a bad movie.
Yeah, bad movie.
Bad movie.
But,
Now, if that was filmed in digital, think about how much that'd stand out.
Maybe they could put some CGI bullet holes in it as a re-release.
Hey-oo.
But yeah, to get back on track, I am trying to broker a deal with another place that can do 35, and in the meantime, I'm going to keep doing smaller screenings digitally and on 16 millimeter in an art space in downtown Providence. But yeah, the film collection keeps growing. That's a good thing.
That's good. Yeah.
I can't show them anywhere, but there's more.
I don't know how and why, but I want to rig it on a day, work it out at a time that Jay is up. But this cat has
I'm up right now.
Yeah. This cat either got I can't remember if it was I think it was yours, right? A pristine, a copy of Demons that was so beautiful.
Yeah, that's mine.
That I'm not even kidding. I said this to Wolfie. It wasn't till 45 minutes in that I was positive that it was film.
Mm-hmm.
It was.
Well, probably
perfect.
would have been like 15 or 20 with the cigarette burns.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Language. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there,
I think if you're it's funny you bring up demons and I think Josh will sort of know this, that if you're a 35 millimeter film collector, or you know people who collect 35 millimeter films, there's a pretty good chance that while the condition may vary, they have a print of Demons. It's almost like a standard, almost like entry point film that people seem to be able to get their hands on. Is the film Demons?
I agree partially, but I think more what I'd have to say is everybody who has ever thought about collecting film owns a print of Night of the Comet.
Of what? I'm sorry.
Night of the Comet.
Oh yes. Yes, that as well. That is one of the handful of yes.
Yeah.
So, and I just want to add that Josh had, I think it was last summer, Josh, you had an awesome Euro Film Fest. I don't remember all the films, but Man from Deep River.
Mm-hmm.
Burial Ground, right?
Burial Ground, yep. It was a couple Fulci films.
There were 3 Fulci films.
3, yeah.
The lineup was The Horrible Dr. Hitchcock, Burial Ground, Man from Deep River, House by the Cemetery, Gates of Hell, and The Beyond.
There you go. And that was I forget how much, but it was stupid cheap. I paid to go see Euro films all day, and it was fucking awesome.
It was
And
$30, or if you bought a ticket in advance, it was $25.
yep, I think I bought mine in advance for $25.
It's still something, not being able to go is still something that I think about. It's up there with the time that ECW was in Worcester and I didn't go. It still bugs me. I don't know what I did instead, but it probably included blowjobs. Because otherwise I would have not come.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem.
I know that it was in. I remember when I saw it. I was at the Demons thing. I saw the ad for your promotional stuff. I was super excited, and I do remember it was fell in I still feel busy from that month of October because we had Rock and Shock. They had moved up Rock and Shock, so it was ass to ass with the Deadite show. So I had double preparation to do and everything else, and so much garbage. I remember running around with Wolfie a lot, getting merch and everything in order for that week, and but I don't know. I think that's the night I finally convinced Raven Shadow to blow me.
Ew. All right, well,
it wasn't that night.
Let's jump over to Jay. Jay, why don't you talk a little bit about your background in film, or whatever you want to mention. Maybe not all of it, but I know there's some shady stuff.
What?
No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if you want to talk about your day job. You don't have to. That's all I'm saying.
My day job?
Yes, your day job.
My day job is at a university, so that's not interesting.
Yes, about film though. You
That sounds interesting to me. I'm an
yeah. Well, yes, I do or have in the past taught some film courses.
Yes.
And I mainly teach sort of arts and society courses, so mostly theater and film. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about 35 millimeter film.
That's right.
So I don't know. I could talk about I had a class today. My students are idiots. I don't know. I mean,
they're probably listening right now.
No, they are not listening. Trust me.
Your podcast co-hosts are idiots.
Yeah. No.
What's the best format for a stag party porno film?
16 millimeter.
I was about to say 16.
Yeah.
Or actually, I'm gonna go 8. I'm gonna go those 8
even
loops.
8, yeah.
Those loops that just have no sound and they just
Oh, Carl, what do you have going on in there? Is that the one with the donkey and the chambermaid?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Was there a question there? I don't know if there was a question.
No,
I know that was a question.
I just want you to talk about the Back Alley film series.
Ooh.
And your association. What do you do? What's your tie to 35 millimeter?
What's my tie to 35 millimeter? I mean, I was a union projectionist in Massachusetts, local 181. I guess actually technically I still am. So
we were in the same union.
I still pay dues, and mainly at the Somerville Theater in Somerville. Where my buddy Ian is the general manager and has sort of is leading a charge in the area of sort of keeping 35 as a viable film source to screen films, including 70, which they're getting ready to hopefully have up and running in the next 6 months or so. So not only 35, but 70 millimeter film. And my love of 35 millimeter film comes as somebody who worked with 35 millimeter film as a job, somebody who loves movies, and somebody who appreciates that an artist creates art in a certain medium, and it's important that their work is shown in a particular medium or in a particular way. And that's kind of where it comes down to for me right now. While it's exciting to watch, films on film, and there's a nostalgic factor, and there's, sort of the sound and all that kind of stuff. And I'm very big on sort of seeing films in a movie theater as much as you can, because most of the time that was how they were sort of made. But I believe that artists created movies on film, and then to say, oh, hey, now you're going to watch it in this other format. It'd be like telling a painter, well, we're going to make a poster of your painting and then put it in the gallery. And to me, that's not the art that was created. And to take that out of the hands of the artist and the people who want to exhibit the art, which is the theaters, right? Now, some theaters want digital because they don't give a shit. They sell popcorn. That's what they do. And that's why you need people like Josh, who are sort of like, no, we want to show it in the format that the artist created it in as best the quality as we can present to them, because sometimes prints are not in the greatest quality, because this is how they made it. They made it to look like this, to have this look and feel. And so that's my kind of thing with film. I mean, that's sort of started as a film lover. I worked with it, and now my thing is it's a art vehicle that, not to mention all the other things where there's movies out there on film that are not in any other format. So, if you take away 35 millimeter film, what will happen to these movies?
Right.
So there's many different, angles you can approach this from. And again, quality wise, I think most people who know about film and know about the actual mechanics of film and the physics of film, that, even a 4K projected image is not as good when you have a properly projected film print at anywhere between 15 to, 20, 22 Lambert, foot per Lamberts or whatever they, on a bulb. And I mean, so I'm getting a little misty here.
So I just real quick want to give my background. So I was a film projectionist for about 4 years as well, working with 35 millimeter. So I certainly have a love of the format, and I guess growing up, like all of us can associate, whether you work with film or not, when you grew up going to the theater, you saw 35 millimeter film, you saw the grain, you saw the cigarette burns. That's how we grew up with film. And I'd say that, when we were growing up, VHS, well, when we were super young, VHS was like, when it first came out, it was like, hundreds of dollars, and we didn't have it for a while,
Right.
or most of us anyways. Or
even cable,
Yeah.
Cable was an expensive endeavor.
If you wanted to see a movie, you went to the theater to see a movie, and it was an experience. It was a different way of watching. You couldn't watch it at home. You had to go to the theater to watch it. It was an experience. And now, obviously with cable, with the advent of cable and stuff, we had HBO, and it was like, oh my God, I can watch Back to the Future 10 times in a week if I want to, or whatever, and
by then you could probably record it too.
Yeah, and then at that point you could probably record it, and that was a different experience. But that definitely didn't replace going to the theater, and now the vision of the artist, sort of like what Jay was saying, is being diluted in it, and it's not the way that it's intended. And the reason why is sad. It's all about money. That's all it is. These major corporations, they see, okay, well, the cost, how much it costs to make a physical 35 millimeter print is in the thousands of dollars, and how much it costs to make a hard drive to put to put a digital film on these days is in the hundreds of dollars.
Right.
I think I heard $150. That's a drastic figure, especially if you're looking at films that are going to be on 4,000 screens.
Right.
That's a huge amount of money. So I don't necessarily blame them.
I mean, the business has changed. That's part of the reason why. Back in the day, you would hear these really sexy stories that the movies that we love the most, especially, were literally brought from town to town. Mm-hmm. You know, like they did their time here and moved on to the next place.
Mm-hmm. So that's the thing that I wanted to sort of discuss when we have Jay and Josh both here. I want to discuss sort of the viability of 35 millimeter moving forward. Is it a format that is going to die? Is it a format that is still going to be used? And right now, I think more in Hollywood, more films are being made on 35 millimeter than digital. But I think that number is it's coming more in balance.
It's in a weird place.
Yeah. But the thing is, even though they're filmed on 35 millimeter film, they're being displayed in digital.
Right.
So, like, we're not like. So I guess the point is, why bother with film at that point? You know, you're spending a lot of money getting the film developed and buying the film and all that. So that's the thing. I think a lot of people are pushing for it to go away. And some other interesting facts.
I don't even know that it's like they're necessarily pushing for it. Like, I don't even know if it's like considered in that way. Like, I think it's like for them who are not lovers of the medium, it's a logical progression. Like it would almost be bad business for it to not.
I think yes and no. I always say that they're pushing for it to go away, and that there's the story where Christopher Nolan shoots on film. It's also in his contract that when a film comes out, that there are a X amount of actual 35 millimeter or 70 millimeter prints that go out to theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And before the last Batman film was made, I forget which studio he's working with right now, but they tried to buy his contract out so they wouldn't have to make release prints anymore.
It's Warner Brothers, I think, that wants.
So. And I do believe that contract ends with Interstellar.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
So before we get into a big discussion, 2 points I just wanted to bring up was the film. If we want to blame this on a person or a film, I think we can target Avatar,
which I am very happy to blame it for everything,
because a lot of that film was only displayed digitally. They did not send out any 35 millimeter prints, to my knowledge. It was only digital. So if you wanted to play this film in your theater, you needed to make the conversion to digital. So that was like, here you go. You know, better pony up now, or you're not going to get the biggest grossing film of all time. So that was 2009. So we can blame Avatar. We can blame James Cameron. And also in 2013, I think it was, 2013, that when Anchorman 2 was released, which is kind of a weird film that has this distinction, it was the last film that will be distributed on 35 millimeter to theaters from Paramount Pictures, which I thought was kind of interesting. That's the last one they're ever going to distribute on 35 millimeter.
I'm sorry, which one was that?
Anchorman 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
By Paramount, though.
Yeah.
By Paramount.
I think that's okay. I was gonna say because okay.
I think
I don't know if that Avatar, and again, I'd have to do some. I don't know if that's true.
I think that was the beginning.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if Avatar was not released in 35 millimeter prints. I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure it was printed in many formats. And I think if you just look up on IMDb, I think you can see that information.
I mean, I'm certainly interested to know for sure, because I feel like the relationship between the theater chains and the film companies are a little more symbiotic than that. Like, I don't know that one has that much power over the other, because like if nobody said that they wanted to see it, regardless if it's James Cameron or not, where are they going to fucking show it?
Yeah. I think in 2009 they hadn't. I mean, I can remember conversations going to Show West, which is a huge theater exhibitor conference out. I think it's actually called something CinemaCon now. I think it's called in Las Vegas. They have it every year, and it's where the studios kind of. I think it's in March, and it's where the studios kind of tout their big summer movies, and then it's like a big convention where they show you the new seats and the new popcorn poppers and all the new candies and stuff, and you're like, what are these dipping dots? What are these? You know, and I can remember going there in 2003 and 2004, and this charge was already being led by studios. This was I think you hit that nail on the head, Jesse. That the studios were trying to find ways. Yes, costs, and I think that was a big thing, but I think more, and the cynical me is sort of with what I've seen of the way you try to get movies booked into theaters now, even in a digital print format, is controlling, the movies that get into the movie theater, and sort of by getting in bed with all these banks and these projectors and making all these theaters kind of like all the mom and pop theaters essentially shut down or convert and then take out huge loans, and then they don't even own their equipment. Right. Has really, that was a charge that was happening in 2003, 2004, but it really wasn't until when did Avengers come out? When was that?
Was it 2012?
Yeah.
2012. I remember that was sort of like 2011 too. That's why the Avatar thing. I'm pretty sure there were 35 prints of that movie. I know the last Harry Potter film, which I think came out after Avatar. That film was still floating around in 35. But by the time you got to 2011, 2012, they had basically told all the theaters, if by 2014 you're not converted, to digital, you're fucked. You're not getting. So you can't get anything in 35, or mostly in 35. There still are 35 prints, and I don't know. I don't. It makes me angry to think about it. And now I'm talking. I want to shut up.
It's funny though. It changed the business model. Like you hit the nail on the head exactly the time I was thinking, because I remember. It might have been Iron Man 2 and not been Avengers, but I remember like looking at the showtimes and thinking like I'm literally getting a secondary app to just figure out how to see a movie not in 3D. Right. Like in every movie that we were possibly going to see for like a few months, that was like something I had to look into. And it wasn't that, it obviously wasn't that way before. Like it definitely changed the business model and helped make way for the gimmick film, as opposed to being a novelty because it was expensive and hard to set up and you needed extra stuff. Like the novelty became the real. The novelty became the norm rather, and it just was a really frustrating time. I think it's died down a tiny bit. Like you couldn't go, maybe Thor. Maybe it was Thor that we couldn't go see not in 3D around here.
Yeah.
It was really oppressive, and it was a way to like not only like you said control the theaters, like you weren't going to see that movie unless you were going to go see it in 3D digital, like in this bells and whistle presentation that has nothing to do with movies.
No.
It's just ways for them to add more. It's like the convenience tax on Ticketmaster tickets.
Yeah.
Jesse and I. Now I did it. Wolfie.
Who's Jesse?
Jesse Wolfie and I.
Okay.
Jesse Wolfie and I had an interesting
That's my
conversation today outside of a fast food parking lot, as most interesting conversations that the Deadites have.
It wasn't fast food.
Fast food-ish.
Our new show sponsor,
Our
Moe's.
new show sponsor, Moe's, right. It's a really, I hate to use the word tragedy because, there are real life tragedies. But from our point of view, it's a real tragic time for 35 millimeter because we're in like kind of a renaissance where you can check out many different art mediums in many different ways now for the first time in years. It's not like, it's very similar in 35 millimeter to when everything converted from vinyl to cassette. You're getting a very easy to duplicate and distribute bastardized version of it. But in other medias, you can go get vinyl now, or you can get a very, you can pick even your wavelength file of how you want your digital music distributed. But you don't really have I can't go to the theater this weekend, like for the Trick or Treat Radio get together, folks, where you should all meet us. Go to the Fib to find out details. I can't pick to go see Sin City in 35mm or digital or any other way other than how they're showing it. And it's a suck thing, like for the artist and for the viewer, because you're not like, it's not even an option. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's being overrun because it's so cheap and so easy to put out. It's not even like an option. Like, and it seemingly didn't even seem like a super smooth transition. Like, I remember just hearing in masses theaters were just converting.
Well, yeah, back to when I was a projectionist, this was, I'm thinking it was like...
I ate a lot of popcorn.
Yeah, I think it was like 98 to 2002, I believe. And in that time, I worked at a major, like, megaplex, 12 theaters, and, they were slowly starting to phase out projectionists because the job was sort of marginalized. They're like, we don't need these people. Like, so they would let the assistant managers run the booth, and we all have probably seen instances of what happens when you don't have someone who's trained and knows what the fuck they're doing in the booth.
Welcome to my vacation last week.
Wait, was it rhyme with Icodin?
No, it rhymes with I had to go to my job every single day, even though I was on vacation because people are idiots.
Or that, yeah. So,
is pinball supposed to be on fire?
And then when that was happening and projections weren't running the booths, you'd see like films would fall off the platters. You'd see like platter scratches all over the fucking place. You'd see brain wraps.
Wow,
What?
that's just like when Curious George goes to see a movie.
What is going on? What'd you do? Did you hit yourself again?
He assaulted himself.
Dynamo assaulted himself.
Somehow soda got
Out
out
of
of the bottle, out of my mouth, and into my eye.
What are you, Kenneth Keith Callenbach over there?
I'm not sure who
So-
I am anymore.
Now, I'd like to talk about the switchover.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Because there's a way to look at it where you can understand how it happened easily and quickly for the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, the studio said by this date we no longer want to produce new films on 35.
Mm-hmm.
So all the multiplexes said, oh, well, we're going to have to change because they don't want to make these anymore. And then the secondary part of that is the companies that did the installation of the digital projectors gave a discount if you let them take all the 35mm equipment with
Of
them
course.
for scrap.
Yep.
So for companies that where 99% of what they show is mainstream new releases, that was a no-brainer.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
The problem being then is that when all the smaller theaters had to follow suit and switch to digital, a lot of them got rid of 35 just so they could get that discount, because without that discount they couldn't afford it.
Yep. And it was sort of forced on them. It's like, here, you have to do this or you're not going to make money.
And the sad thing is, I'm going to say something extremely controversial right now.
Nice.
Because it actually pertains to the film we talked about today.
Mm-hmm.
Josh has a vagina.
Jesus
if
Christ.
that second-run theater that I saw Blue Ruin at hadn't gone digital, they would not have shown that film.
Right.
Because once they went digital, they started taking on the occasional, like, complete left field film because they didn't have to pay, like, shipping on a print. And if it over or underperformed, it was a lot easier to move it to a different size house.
Yeah.
So, like, that's why I got to see Blue Ruin there. That's why they were the only theater in the state that showed Knights of Badassdom. And there's been, like, 2 or 3 other super small release films that they've gotten that nobody else will touch.
So it's like a double-edged sword. Like, it sucks, but there's, like, a cool sort of side effect.
Yeah.
And while it has nothing to do with good film by any stretch of the imagination, like, there is a use for, as an art form, of digital filmmaking on every level. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
Like, I went and saw, forget about, like, the Robert Rodriguez's of the world, where it's a budgetary thing. Like, while I am positive that the Platinum Dunes film that I saw this weekend, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, everything about that movie was digital. Like, like 50% of the characters were digital. And like in being able to like do that cheaply and readily and make it look a certain way, like in the last 4 years, like there was a jump from how good Lord of the Rings looked to everything else still looked like PlayStation cutaways. Like, say what you want about that Turtles movie, and I thought that for a big budget popcorn film, like I had a really good time at it. Like there were things in that were fucking awesome, and they only existed because of that medium, because there was nothing real in it,
Right, but that I think is when I argue with people now about, because we can get into the nitty gritty sort of argument of, and I will.
I can't argue with you. I've had one argument with you my whole life, and it was about Batman Returns.
No, not arguing with you. Oh. But I'm saying, we can argue about the quality of film versus the quality of digital all day long, right?
Right.
Some people will, and people who are sort of film purists or people, will argue about the contrast and argue about the blacks being blacker and the whites being white, and all of those kind of things.
Jay, that's a little sensitive with what's going on in this country.
Yeah.
Sorry, Asian Americans.
The contrast.
But I think the argument that I always make is sort of based upon, if you're making Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and you can do all this stuff digitally and that's how you're going to create your art, well, awesome.
Right.
Awesome. But again, it's sort of the idea of like, if you're a photographer and you've been shooting, photography for 30 years and you like the look and the feel and the quality of shooting in 35 millimeter and then exposing the film and processing it and sort of creating the art through that process, and somebody says to you, no, now you just have to use this digital thing, that I think is the larger issue to me.
I agree.
And then when we go back, or something like Josh is doing where he's showing, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I think Arkham mostly does retro screenings, right?
Are you fucking drunk, Raven Shadow?
Yeah, they do retro screenings. Those are artists who shot and created art in a very specific format. And I think for people like us, because we're all mostly around the same age, we were the first generation that was, in a way, apart from real hardcore cinephiles, who were watching films on video, sure, and we were getting shitty copies of movies, but we were also at the turn of when people were saying, well, what about this letterbox thing?
Right.
Like, we want to see the movie in the right aspect. We want to see it, look the way it's supposed to look. And I think that's where the main argument lies. You can't fight the business aspect. You can't tell a theater they have to show a certain version. They're going to do exactly what Josh said. If the studio comes to them and says, we're only making digital prints now, well, of course you have to get a projector, or you're not going to show any fucking movies, or you're only going to be regulated to very specific types of movies. Now, with the Blue Ruin example, which I think is an excellent example, the problem is that sometimes you have smaller theaters that are willing to take a chance on that film, and they might own their equipment outright, and therefore they don't have any additional fees. But there are other theaters that get kickbacks from the studios when they show their movies, those virtual print fees that they have, where Captain America comes in and the studio pays every night a certain amount of money to run the projector to offset the cost of the projector they had to buy. Mm-hmm. Now, with a smaller film like Blue Ruin, if you have a movie theater, and I'll just use the example of the theater that I use in Charlotte here, every time we show a film during the week, on a night, we have to pay, apart from the rental of the theater, we have to pay an additional $25 just to run the projector. Okay? So now that's just for one screening. You get to Friday and Saturday nights or days, you have to pay $200 a screening. So now you have a small independent distributor who's saying, I want to show Blue Ruin 14 times a week. You're talking about a couple of extra $1,000 they have to pay the theater just to run the movie. And so then they look at the bottom line and they say, well, this market's, Providence is probably a good market, right? Boston's a good market for smaller films. But you get into the South, you get into these smaller places where it's like, we're not going to dump $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 extra dollars into the theater to run this film that might only, garner 15 tickets here, 30 tickets here, 25 tickets here. And at the end of the day, they say, we didn't make any money. There's a lot of real things here that bother me, and I think because I think we think digital has democratized things, and I think there's an argument to be made that it has, whether it's through music or whether it's that you can get it to people. But I think en masse, I think we're seeing fewer and fewer, whether it's mom and pop or smaller movie theaters that can afford to really do the kind of things that is happening in Providence or Boston or whatever.
Yeah,
they can only show
small anything can't afford what they used to afford.
No.
I mean, I was in Somerville 3 weeks ago, I think it was, right? I
Thanks
was
for
in the
calling.
Boston area. Yeah. Well, I was a quick little John. I had shit I had to do. But it was to watch, 2 fucking Don Knotts 35 millimeter prints at the Somerville Theater.
Because I'd much rather watch Don Knotts than hang out with me.
And yeah, I would actually. How
I had actually planned to go to that.
Yeah, I mean, how often are you ever going to see an IB Technicolor print of the Incredible Mr. Olympic? And they were showing Ghost and Mr. Chicken and Vista Vision. And,
would have gone with you.
Yes.
But pay attention. But I think that the point that I'm making is Ian, who runs that theater, will tell you that's a lost leader for that theater.
Right.
They're not paying the cost, and they own the building, and they own the projectors in there. But they're not selling enough tickets to the Ghost of Mr. Chicken, Incredible Mr. Limpet to offset the cost of what Josh is talking about shipping prints, the exorbitant rental fees that people are charging now, the fact that he's dealing now with archives as opposed to other sort of rental agencies. But the idea is to create something special to get you to come to your theater.
Right.
That there's a niche market for that if you're not doing it in the Boston area, you're probably missing out in some ways. And again, Boston's a really lucky place, or New England in general, from New York up, all the way, because there's tons of 35 up there. Not probably enough, but down here in Charlotte, it's like if I don't run a 35 millimeter print once every couple of months, nobody's watching 35 ever. It's and nobody gives a shit too. That's the other thing in Charlotte. They just.
Well, it's like anything else. You also have to realize that there is a generation of people out there that are going to theaters that aren't the us, when we were in college or younger, that never saw a movie in 35 millimeter. Like, they don't know what they're missing.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. I mean, this is the same generation that can't get through a movie without checking their Facebook update and the whole deal. So it's a digital generation, I guess is what I'm saying.
I went and saw... because I have movie. I saw all the. By the way, not that I'm ashamed of my movies. I actually am writing something right now about like the way we treat modern, like kind of popcorn trash cinema versus how we revere it of our youth. But like I went and saw Expendables and literally was like kind of shocked out of my chair that there was one particular shot in it that was a static, long shot. And I think it was the only one in a 90-minute film, whether somebody was talking or whatever else. Like, it's forget about the medium. Like as a whole, we're definitely pandering to what they think is the audience anyway. Which is ironic because that audience that they're building these films for are probably fucking stealing it anyway. So you would think the business model would be to try to get us stupid assholes into the movies to watch it on 35 millimeter because we're the ones that actually are going to go to the movies, like
a lot of times now there's, like Jay had said, there's a lot of really good theaters here in the Boston area and even Providence and just around New England. And whenever there's a screening of an older film, my first thought is it in 35?
Right.
And if it is, like, I will make a point to try to go check it out. So, when you guys went to go see The Raid 2, I went to the Brattle to see Dark Crystal and Labyrinth, both in 35, and that was fucking amazing because I don't think I got to see those films in 35 when I was a kid. I think I saw them later on HBO or whatever, but that to me was a fantastic experience. And one of the prints was terrible. I think it was the Dark Crystal print.
All the prints that are in circulation in Dark Crystal are super faded and scratched out.
It was terrible, but I didn't even give a fuck because I loved it. I was in heaven, like just seeing like the grain and there's just something about it. And I think it was you, Dynamo, that mentioned vinyl. I think there's a good analog between vinyl and 35 millimeter because a lot of people tend to think that vinyl, that music, that it just sounds richer. You know, it just has this feel to it that you just don't get digitally. You know, whereas cassette, you know, fuck cassettes. Cassettes, and same thing with VHS. Fuck VHS. No one cares about it.
While I loved cassettes because I just loved music,
Sure.
like.
But it doesn't hold up, is
No,
what I'm saying.
right. Like, Tiny will probably remember this. Like, I had a record player with we had a bar in the basement of the original Crypt, and, you know, none of us, not to say we didn't occasionally, but none of us were old enough to drink, and it was just, the whole back of it was just vinyl, and then behind that was crates of vinyl, because that was, like, the fucking awesome way to listen to music. You know what I mean? That was when you put on... and we'd spin everything from the fucking soundtrack of Hair to Howard Jones to our friend Brian Kokonak was a guest on the show. We'd get these weird German bands that that was the only time you ever heard of them is getting that one vinyl, like, you know, electronic music, 70s metal, like everything would play on there. And like that was like an experience for us. Like that was how you did it. But even then, cassette was such the thing, like people would come and like I had like I had to fucking crank it up to make it play or something like that. People would come into the basement and be like, you got one of those? And that was in, you know, 88, 90, you know, like that was like, it's like I had an antique, you know, so it's to think now that there are like, media doesn't even exist. Forget about the delivery method. Like physical media is not even like a thing anymore. Like it's like, again, I feel like I'm on the wrong side of this conversation, and anyone knows me knows how much I love 35 millimeter film. But there's almost a victory to be had that I'm surprised that there are still fucking theaters, no matter what they're showing.
Yeah.
You know, or how they're running it on. Like I didn't think that was a guarantee a few years ago because most of the Newbury Comics are closed. Most of the big box stores have stopped. Like cut their like media sections of the media stores way down, and they're just selling the delivery methods now. And you know it's ugly. Like it's such a strange thing. The fact that there's any place at all to see Blue Ruin is like almost mind bending to me. You know, like it's like I don't want to ruin my point by making it sound simple and dumb, but it's just really bad out there if you love art purely, I guess is a way to say it.
I'll ruin your point by referencing the movie Equilibrium. The scene where he finds the turntable, the whatever gramophone record player, and throws, I forget what the classical piece is, but throws on the classical piece, and then you know you just hear the needle scratching on the record before it starts up, and you just get the like little dynamic of the band like coming up to ready and everything, and he just like is overwhelmed by it, you know. And I don't think you can't educate somebody about how to feel about what they're experiencing. You know what I mean? It's just you either put a needle on a record and something comes out of the speakers and you feel it, or you don't. You know what I mean? And if you don't, then that's really sad, and it's really too bad. You know what I mean? There's just something so essential to experiencing a real thing. And I honestly I think it's just lost. It's getting lost.
Yeah,
I think we're training ourselves out of it.
We sort of
the convenience of having everything in one place. You can put movies, music, you know, pornography. Everything is in one place. You know, you don't have to go anywhere else for it. But I mean, we all know it. You know, like holding, not to get lowbrow, but like holding a porno magazine in your hands, right? I haven't done it since I was a teenager, probably, but that's a fucking experience.
It does free up your hands now, though.
It does, but you feel like it's all about feeling, right?
Yeah.
Like just like you're feeding your soul. You know what I mean? Not your ears and not your eyeballs, but it's something deeper than that. It's a connection with what you're experiencing.
I mean,
you know, it's.
I was gonna say, as a projectionist, and I think anybody who's ever done projection work, you know, there is something about being
part of the process.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
And being sort of like the last, you are the sort of the guardian of the filmmaker's film.
Right.
Like if you fuck it up, people who came to see whatever that filmmaker is doing, and again, that might seem a little like heady or whatever, but it is that idea.
Right.
You know, you because you have a tangible connection with the fact that you're touching in some ways the art. I mean, I heard a great analogy one time where some director was talking about Final Cut, and the director kept saying, you know, I insist on Final Cut, I insist on Final Cut, and then one day told him, well, you don't have Final Cut. The projectionist has Final Cut. Because in the 70s and 80s when they started going to platter systems where you were trimming off a frame or whatever on a tail and a head, that, you know, if they weren't good and they couldn't trim right, they might take off 2 or 3 or 4 or 8 frames at the end of your reel, and could fuck up the transition from one reel to the next, and you know, so there was, or it could fuck up the changeover, right? If it was a reel to reel projector, you'd fuck up the changeover, and then it's like in the middle of this film that somebody created, where it's supposed to go from one scene to one shot to the next shot, there's a white screen for 3 seconds with bad sound, with a weird, and so the idea is, you know, the same with a record, you know, putting the needle on there and saying, I'm playing this song, and sort of having that connection to it. There is something to that again, we have a nostalgia for, because we lived through that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with if you didn't live through it and not understanding it, because how could you, you know? How could you understand sitting in a room and having a musician just play, you know? Because that's how people got their or singing, if you didn't have that experience.
But it's a shame that it's not an option, and that's kind of like where I don't think digital is bad as a medium. The studio's taking the option out is I think what we're all talking about. That is the bad part. The fact that that Paul Thomas Anderson shoots a film in 70 millimeter and it can only play in that format in a handful of theaters. Right.
Yeah. I just want to play one quote here from Quentin Tarantino, who
fuck him.
Jay, we'll have that second argument. It'll be Batman. And Robin all over again.
Batman and Robin. I don't even know what you're talking about.
It was ugly. I thought we weren't going to be friends anymore.
Regardless of what you think of Quentin Tarantino,
I'm joking.
I know you are. I know, but but he is a defender of film. He says he'll only shoot on film. But I just want to play a quote. This is from a press conference he did at Cannes 2014. So let me go ahead and play this little clip here.
The film is going to be shown in 35mm, which is, in
That's
a way,
not him, by the
you're
way.
asserting your position vis-a-vis film stock. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, digital production and DCPs is the death of cinema as I know it. It's not even about shooting your film on film or shooting your film on digital. The fact that most films now are not presented in 35mm means that the war is lost. And digital projections, that's just television in public. And apparently the whole world is okay with television in public, but what I knew as cinema is dead.
All right, so there's just a little quote from Quentin, and
I fucking love him. Is it okay to say that loud?
I think you've said that a million times
Oh
before.
man, like just something about like I don't know, his type of like pretension and his the way he makes films, like in how he talks too much. It just fucking speaks to me.
But that's it was an interesting quote. And
I'd rather talk too much Raven Shadow and have something to say than say Bambaleo.
Hey, people enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But he makes a very good point. Even though a lot of films are still being shot on 35mm,
not shown.
Yeah, it's basically we're watching. That's why VOD, like I think that's why the advent of VOD now is interesting, because we're seeing it the same way. We just don't have the theater experience of going into public and seeing it with other people.
There's no media difference at all, which is
exactly, yeah. So I mean that's the interesting thing about VOD now, is especially when they have same day release.
Right.
You know, like Snowpiercer, I think here, at least in the States, had a VOD release before it was even in theaters.
Now, if you did
a lot
that,
of independent stuff now
Yeah.
Yeah.
will come out sometimes months earlier
Yeah.
on VOD.
If you did that a while,
Yeah,
like,
Gilliam's film just came out VOD, I think.
really,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
if you did that
Or next week or something.
a bunch of years ago, I guess, probably heading towards 10, that would be interesting in a way, right? Because you could watch it at home, but it's not just the lazy aspect of it. It's a different medium that you're seeing it on. You're picking your medium. It's like, do I want a compact disc or do I want vinyl?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I try to show all my films on vinyl.
That's a smaller platter. But I mean, it's Tiny is so right. Like I still take time to just sit alone and listen to music, but it's not the fucking same. Like it's just not the same thing. And when it is similar to Tarantino's films, it's fabricated, you know, or by design. Like a big listen for me all the time, and you know, get ready to lay into me is that Dead Man's Bones record. But it's because through design, it sounds like an old record, not like just old music or whatever else. It's like recorded like an old record, you know. So you sit and you're taken back and you feel something. It's just gone, you know what I mean? And it's you know, to go back to beat a dead horse with my old point, the fact that you can, it's not an option anymore is what the real tragedy is. Like that they took it away for economical reasons, and it's still more fucking expensive than ever. You know, like it's like the digital comic conversation of why are these things still fucking $4? You know, you don't like for the most part you're buying them directly from the thing. Why are these fucking ads even still in it? Like it's just it's just absurd. Like it's just like
What's really interesting is you get the bill from Technicolor because they've shipped you a DCP for Blue Ruin or something. And then you look at the bill because, you know, they shipped you a print of, I'm trying to think, go back a couple of years when there was more available, you know, because when we started Back Alley, we still had, this was 2011, so like Troll Hunter, Tucker and Dale versus Evil, Good, the Bad, and the Weird, you know, that kind of stuff was still available.
Yep.
35, and we would show that. But it's interesting that you get the bill from Technicolor and the price that you're paying for shipping from Technicolor, which is less than like a FedEx or, you know, is essentially the same. You're paying essentially the same amount for a box with a DCP in it from Technicolor than that as you were paying 3 or 4 years ago for a print from Technicolor. Maybe a little less in that way, and you're saying it's the same kind of point you're making there, where you're sort of saying, well, but wait a minute, like, why is it cost the same amount to you know, because it's the same way as like when you get those $5 boxes from the Postal Service. There's a certain amount that it costs to ship something that weighs an ounce or a pound, you know. It's like we're just going to charge you a flat fee. And the problem now is if you're trying to run a repertory series or anything where you're trying to run, you're either dealing with private collectors who you have to ship FedEx or UPS or something like that, which is going to kill you in the wait.
Right.
So you're going to pay 3 times what you would pay 5 years ago. Or if you deal with a company that actually is helping you, they're not going through Technicolor, so they're going to ship it FedEx, and they might pay for the freight to get it there, but you're still going to pay $70 or $80 to ship the sucker back. When, you know, 4 or 5 years ago it was, and you asked the same question like the digital. Why is this cost so much when it's, you know,
it's
so
arbitrary.
much? Yeah, it's like they figured out a way to just say, no, well, that's what it costs because you know, we have to cover our costs, and you know, we'll pass that on to you so we can make a few extra bucks. It is a little disheartening, but I'm not as glib as even Tarantino. I mean, Tarantino seems like I like his ideas and that, but he comes across as a little like, you know, here's an artist who has the ability to make movies in the format that he wants to, and for him to sort of be this kind of flippant, well, everybody seems to be okay with that, you know, like, well, yeah, you think some couple who's just going out on a Friday night who hasn't been out in a year because they got a kid and
they don't get. They just want to watch a nice movie and drink a beer and have a bucket of popcorn. And,
yeah, I think
and
there's
watch
two sides of
friggin-
that, though. I think there's the two sides of his statement anyway. While you were right, I mean Tarantino's a showman. Like he's probably, as far as directors go, like think of another director right now whose names are synonymous with their films, other than the fact that they put their name on it. In the sense where he's like an old timey filmmaker, where he's out there promoting it like a carny.
Yeah.
And there's
that
also
a trailer for a film of his can come out before he's even started shooting, and people are like, "It's a Tarantino," It's
Right.
like with no.
Yeah.
And there's also the other side of it, like as somebody who is like, finds himself like in like almost any time there's like an art conversation, especially like, when we're talking about putting out a record or something like that, of what the delivery methods are going to be, and like losing money and stuff like that, like who almost ends up in tears over the fact that like I'll like throw bones over not having any sort of a physical release, even though they're fucking waste. We have the most critically acclaimed beer coaster around all of our houses in the world, in the Big Scary Monster Hunts at midnight. But at the end of the day, like Tarantino is a guy who is for better or worse, unless I'm buying into his gimmick, super passionate about this in the face of like a medium that's changed, and like a society that it doesn't matter to as much as it matters to him. So, I get it. I think you're right at the end of the day, but like, I at least understand it.
So we do we unfortunately need to wrap up soon, but the one last thing I wanted to discuss here was I saw an article, where was this, Studio Daily, and they quoted a tweet from someone named C. Mason Wells. I don't recognize the name, but he says, I'm not sure people who aren't in exhibition know about this, but Warner Brothers is essentially refusing to loan out 35 millimeter prints anymore.
Yeah.
So I just want to know, Josh or Jay, have you guys experienced this?
There are a number of studios who have been cutting back on their willingness to loan out repertory prints.
Now, why do you think that is? Is that because of like for Warner specifically, say with the wanting to maintain them for the archives, or?
Okay, it's a matter of having it for the archive, and not wanting to pay to make more. I think a perfect example. This is a story I've told other people in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Is maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. Me and some other people I knew had contacted 20th Century Fox about their 35 of Phantom of the Paradise.
Yep.
And they had recently pulled it from doing any more repertory screenings. And this is their exact reasoning. We're no longer loaning this film printout because it's getting too many requests, and we're afraid that it's going to get damaged because it's not in great shape. So the obvious response to that is like, oh, well then, are you going to strike a new one? Oh, no, you guys can just show the DVD.
Yeah, yeah.
So, too many people want to show this movie. Yeah. No, we're not going to show it.
Yeah, it's a hassle. It's sort of like the Blue Ruin example I was giving. My buddy Ian, who runs Somerville, has told me many stories over the years, especially when it comes to repertory prints, of where that's they don't even want it. They don't, because for the while Josh is right, they're saying too many people want to burn for the minimal cost that they're getting for a rental. They just don't want to bother with it. They just don't want to. Oh, you're giving me $250 for a print of, or $300 for a print of Smokey and the Bandit. Somebody's got to find it. What warehouse is it in? We got to package it. We got to have somebody make sure that all the reels are there. All that sort of bullshit, right? Which people who've like touched film and play with film, we love it. We love that shit, right? Spinning it and doing we love all that. But the only way that most theaters are seeming to survive, because I think Warner's has kind of come out with that, is if you are a print that can get into archival prints, right? Where you can do reel to reel, and then it's sort of, well, there's more of a chance that you're not going to fuck up this print. So we might loan this out to you, but I don't know what Warner Brothers deal is right now, but that sounds pretty much right on as far as I've seen in a limited, because somebody's like, what warehouse is Goonies in? What?
Right.
There's a DVD right there. Like, just fucking send them or you deal with, and there is a company, maybe I'll shill a little bit. There is a company now that has kind of picked up the mantle a little bit on this. It's called Park Circus. And I don't know if Josh knows about them, but they've basically tried to act as an intermediary between the studios and people like myself, like Josh, like other theaters that are trying to still do 35 stuff and don't have reel-to-reel projections, so they can't get into the archives. They can't get, the Ghost of Mr. Chicken, because I think that's Universal, but Universal is like, you have reel-to-reel? No, platter, forget it. You're not running it, like, because you're going to scratch it putting it on the platter or something. And Park Circus, I think they started in London, somewhere in England originally, but they deal with, a lot of the studios, both overseas and in the US, and they act as that intermediary where it's sort of like, well, we'll deal with them so you can deal with Park Circus, and if they can get a print from us, then you can rent it from them, So it's still a battle. It's still something that
now, is it more expensive? Like,
yes,
because now there's a third party involved, right?
Yeah, and because they're and they're doing some more legwork. They're shipping different than the way. I mean, there used to be, and I was lucky enough to go here when I moved to Charlotte, but. And Charlotte's not a big movie town at all. There was a time when there were a lot of great little smaller theaters and local chains, and they were doing really interesting things in the 80s and early 90s. But as they've sort of fallen away, and this has become basically a two theater town, right? AMC and Regal, and they own all the theaters in Charlotte essentially. There's a few stragglers, but there was a depot here. I mean, there was a depot where you could walk down to drive over to the depot and go into this giant warehouse out by the airport, and there's a print of Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan sitting on a shelf at a depot in Charlotte, and it's just gonna sit there until somebody in the southeast wants to rent it somewhere, and it might go to Atlanta, and then if it goes to Atlanta, it'll sit in the depot in Atlanta, or then it might go to Tallahassee, and if there was wherever the handful of depots were, those prints from the studios would sit at the depots. And then all the big movies, like I remember the last time I went there it was the last big prep for a film they were doing, which was one of the later Harry Potter movies. And that's where all the reels come in, and they have to package up like, okay, we got a pallet full of reel 6. Now we got to put all those in the cans and get them in the trucks and send them out to all the theaters in the area or in the state. Those are gone now, so now you're shipping directly from California, right. Or you're shipping directly from the UK sometimes, if they're in a warehouse there with Park Circus. So yeah, the price does go up, very much so. But yeah, I think that like made me cringe when it's like, yeah, people actually want to watch your thing, but we don't have the time for it. We don't, and because the studios are not run by cinema lovers, they're run by business people. They're run by, the bottom line. They got boards. They have to, and some of that's bad, I guess. And so I don't know. Warner Brothers, I think, is sort of leading the charge right now, and then I'm sure the others will follow. I mean, I'm sure they will eventually. Where they'll say we're just not loaning out prints anymore, and then it'll all be underground, like a lot of it is now. I mean, I've contacted Josh. That's how I found out who he was, because I was looking for a print, Yep. And it's sort of this sort of weird, like, I mean, I don't personally own any prints, of course. I mean, I would never.
Of course not.
I mean, I know Josh said something about demons, but I think he was just referring to the Blu-ray, of course.
Yeah.
That's why it looks so good, right?
And we and I went over and Raven Shadow smoked all over it, so that's how the cigarette burns.
But that I think is what's gonna happen. Is I think, and I've known people who've done that. I know people who've gone to someone like a Warner Brothers or Universal and said, hey, we want to show this movie. Fine, we'll rent the DVD, and then they run a film print that they got from a collector that's in great shape. Because they're in their mind, they're thinking, all right, I paid the $200 for the DVD. I'm not showing that, but at least I gave the studio the money that they're owed.
But then they have to pay another $200 to rent the print from a collector.
Yeah, well, right. Well, I guess
If they have the printer, I guess.
Yeah, it depends. And again, it depends on who you got the the print from, and if you know the person, and what that cost is going to be. Yeah, or the shipping, or yeah. But there's where you get into exactly, I think, what Josh you were talking about when you were saying how when you try to do this, that's why you can't do it all the time, because then you look up one day and you're like, boy, my credit card doesn't have a lot of money left on it, or I don't have a lot of money left in the bank, or we only got 100 people to that screening and we really needed to get 300 and to pay for all those movies. I mean, I'm thinking about trying to do something next year when the theater I screen now gets fully renovated, because we kept the 35 there on purpose. We had to basically pay them to keep it.
Jesus.
They were going to chuck it, and we said, look, if we give you X amount of money, can you just take it out, install your digital projectors, and then get somebody to reinstall it so it's there? And again, we use it quite a bit, but I want to do an all day kind of thing, and you start doing the budget and you say, holy shit, this is how
Science fiction
is it possible
money.
How is it even possible to not lose our shirts on this? At the end of the day, no, of course. Or you have to do it so under the radar and so illegally,
right?
That so it's not fun.
Well, we unfortunately need to wrap up. We're getting to that time here, but
we're getting to the point where the people in the other room are making fun of us because we're not watching bad videos.
the last thing I want to say, and I don't necessarily know the answer to this question, but for instance, we just had the 40th anniversary print of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They did a 4K. It did it in 4K,
which I'm afraid to see, right?
Well, from all I hear, it looks incredible. But so the thing is, you can do that because you have the film negative, and you can blow that up and make it look awesome. My question is, and let's less than a minute. Let's try to wrap this one up. My question is, invariably when they create new technology and we have higher resolutions, are the films that are being made digitally now, they're not going to be able to transfer well, are they? I mean, because you film it at a specific resolution, you can't necessarily make it bigger and have it translate well.
Yeah.
Whereas with film negatives, you can. So, do you guys have any quick thoughts on that before we wrap up here?
My problem wouldn't be worrying about resolution.
Mm-hmm.
It would be worrying about storage.
Yeah.
Right. The problem right now is films being made digitally and being stored digitally aren't lasting as long as they think.
Yeah.
The most notable thing is Toy Story.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
When they went to do the Blu-ray of Toy Story, they had to go find all the original elements because a third of the film on the hard drive had been corrupted.
Yeah, I remember
and they
that.
Had to recomposite everything and pretty much reassemble the film from the original elements.
That's crazy.
And that's not an old movie.
No.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was when you were asking the question, I was thinking of Toy Story. I was saying, go look up Toy Story online, because, and I say that to people all, and that's why when you get into why I would sort of advocate for film is, when they go to do the 40th anniversary Blu-ray of Jaws, guess what they go back to?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They don't go to the DVD, they don't go to some digital. They go back to the original film elements because they know that those are the best quality to create whatever digital thing they're going to create, even if it's a 4K. So I think storage will become a huge issue. I think, as we've all had this with, you put a Blu-ray in your Blu-ray player and it's like, oh, it doesn't play because your Blu-ray the firmware has to update, right?
Yeah.
So you go, oh shit, I have to update my software or my firmware inside the player. That will happen. That will continue to happen. At the end of the day, will it matter for most people? No, sure. It'll be fine. It won't. But we may lose things. Who knows? I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't know. I don't.
Yeah. it's certainly an interesting discussion, and one as typically happens on the show, we could go on and on about. Did you have one last thing, Don?
Yeah, it's just like anything in cinema. Like it's, I agree with Jay in the sense where, to word it in my own not as intelligent as Jay way though, like it's happening too fast to be whole digital thing is happening too fast to be punk rock, and it's already been like exploited. And it's just not as much art. You know, when you were making these things on film, you were building the effects. You had to light things a certain way to have things work a certain way. You weren't necessarily, you couldn't, we'll just fix it later. And it's just not as sexy. It's just not as cool of a thing anymore.
So it is unfortunate. I mean, you know, the likelihood of seeing 35 millimeter in theaters is dwindling by the day, I think, and soon it'll just be a specialty thing, like it sort of is now already. But it's a shame because a lot of us here have, you know, touched 35 millimeter. We've worked with it, we've spliced it, we've built prints.
Mm-hmm.
And
you guys probably take it for granted, you three guys in here, but I remember when you take me up to the booth, just how it fucking smelled.
Yeah.
And how great it was, the dust coming off the light.
Before or after?
I was going to tell a story about one of the times that a bulb burnt out during a screening of Traffic, but maybe I'll leave that for another show. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure we all have war stories, so to speak, but we'll have to maybe save them for part 2 if we ever do this again. But so yeah, we need to wrap up. We're not going to get to feedback. We're already over the 3-hour mark. So I want to thank both you guys for joining us, because this was a lot of fun. Blue Ruin obviously was a fantastic film, and I know both of you guys were repping it pretty hard, and I wanted to make sure we got your thoughts on it, but also just to give your knowledge about 35 millimeter film. You know, I know a little bit, but it was nice to have other people who've worked with it and appreciate it like the rest of us do. You know, not everyone has been a film projectionist, but we can appreciate it just as much as everyone else. So that's pretty fantastic. But before we go, I just want you guys to plug anything you need to plug. Jay, I don't know if you want to go ahead and plug anything. If not, you know, like, it was just fun having you on again.
Hey, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for having me. No, what I would plug, I think, because if people are listening, is I would say go find that theater in your town or near your town. You know, that's, I guess, you know, an hour or less drive.
Mm-hmm.
That's showing the independent films, that's showing the 35 repertory stuff, and go and support that stuff. That would be my plug. I mean, you know, go see more movies in the movie theater, I guess, at the end of the day. I mean, seriously, because there will be a trickle down effect. If you go to see films in a theater, it will trickle down. But, you know, seek out those smaller theaters that are doing cool stuff like Josh was talking about in Providence,
mm-hmm.
or and, you know, be an adventurous when it comes to your Cinerview shit, and watch Locke. How about that other one?
Okay.
Watch that fucking movie, because it's a good movie. It's a great film.
Cool. We'll have to
All right,
check
so
that
thanks
out.
for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course, Jay. It's always a pleasure. Josh, we'll just quick plug your stuff, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, we don't have anything set at the moment, but we should be announcing a screening for September or October soon. So
Awesome.
Keep your eye out on ArkhamFilmSociety.com, or search for us on Facebook or any other social media platform.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget Rock and Shock Film Festival, rockandshock.com/film-festival.
Awesome. Get your submissions in. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Tani, Raven Shadow, sorry we didn't get to have you guys talk very much at the end there, but
no, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, it was an interesting discussion. So Dynamo, why don't you go ahead and take us out?
Hey, at the stake of sounding like ball washing, Jay and Josh, thanks for keeping it alive. Remember, children, wherever you go, there you are.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Episode 108. We'll be back next week, and we'll review Rigor Mortis. Talk to you then.